undermined. Reform UK is vowing to fine firms 10% of their global revenues and jail bosses who employ people without the right to work. But Yvette Cooper, the Health Secretary, has said today that the government's carried out the biggest crackdown on illegal working that the country has ever seen.
Well, this government has done the biggest crackdown on illegal working that our country has ever seen, with a 77% increase in raids. 17,000 businesses have seen raids for illegal working, massive crackdown in terms of the courts, and also more than 50% increase in people who've been illegally working also being deported and returned as well. We take this really seriously, and that's why we've had this major crackdown that is delivering results.
In London, a woman has been charged following a stabbing in Covent Garden, a tourist hotspot in the capital, in which 4 men were injured. Stella Golovena was charged today with 4 counts of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm and 1 count of possession of an offensive weapon in a public place. Gianni Infantino has apologised for errors he made in controversial plans to sell off stakes in competitions to private investors, but will remain FIFA president after receiving the backing of senior executives in a meeting in Morocco last night. Infantino summoned members of the management board to FIFA's Africa office in Rabat following mounting criticism of his failed proposals, with World Football's governing body releasing a statement of support just hours after that meeting ended. It's after European football's governing body, UEFA, said at the weekend it had lost confidence in him, calling the FIFA Forward Enterprise proposal a shabby, backroom, opaque deal. Here, a University of Cambridge professor at the centre of a plagiarism row has resigned with immediate effect. The university said it launched an investigation into Professor Jason Arday following new information about his academic qualifications and honorary appointments. Mr Arday has been accused of plagiarising parts of his PhD thesis, a book he published, and exaggerating his sporting and fundraising achievements. In his resignation letter, the youngest black professor ever appointed at Cambridge said he no longer wished to live under a constant spotlight. He admitted errors in his work, but said he'd faced an unrelenting level of public scrutiny and personal attack, adding that he was not a liar. A petition urging the Prime Minister Andy Burnham not to release PC Andrew Harper's killers has now surpassed 500,000 people. On Tuesday, the Prime Minister approved plans to let a number of criminals, including those guilty of murder, become eligible for early release just halfway through their sentences. 2 of those who could be released include Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole, both of whom were convicted of manslaughter in 2020. A record 10,293 referrals were made to the government's anti-extremism scheme Prevent in the year to September of last year, according to new figures published today by the Home Office. The total is up 39% in the previous 12 months and is the highest number of referrals in a single year since data began in 2015. Of those 10,279 referrals, where the age of the individuals was known, and 11 to 15-year-olds made up the largest proportion, followed by 16 to 17-year-olds. Some 393 were for children aged 10 or under. And an Afghan boxer has been charged with killing Scottish aid worker Elizabeth Ross in Greece. Sharif Ahmadi, a 26-year-old, has been charged with homicide with intent, alongside robbery and weapons offences. The body of Ms Ross, who was 38, was discovered in a suitcase by a homeless man in a derelict building in Athens in July. Those are the 3 o'clock headlines for you. More news shortly. Now, though, let's get back to Martin.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Magnificent stuff. Now, throughout all of the day today here on GBNews and into the evening and the night time, we are celebrating Britain in honour of 5 years of the channel being on air. Thank you for that. That's right. We're going to be up and down the country representing you, the great British people. We're in Belfast, Aberdeen, Durham, Leeds, Essex, and in Barry Island there in Wales. And to top it all off, we have some very special shows honouring the occasion tonight. Michelle Dewberry will be live from Essex at 6 p.m. for a programme that promises to pay tribute to you, the great British viewer. And also Patrick Christie's will also be broadcasting there from 9 p.m. And I'll be tuning up on that show in Essex with Jubes later on, so you catch the pair of us there. Be sure to tune in. But enough of that. Let's get now to GBNews presenter Tom Harwood, live in Durham. Tom Harwood, always keen to put your oar in, and there you are, rowing away on the river.
That is indeed what I'm doing, Martin. Durham is such a fantastic part of the country because the centre of the city, where there's that magnificent castle and cathedral, sit on what is a natural fortress created by a meander in the River Wear. And it's on the River Wear where I am right now in my rowing boat, really celebrating the maritime history of Britain. We are a maritime people who in the years of old ruled the waves, and that really is our essence as a people. It was written about by Shakespeare. It was besmirched by Napoleon, who said that whilst he will rule the land, Britain will rule the waves. But I thought it was appropriate to come out onto a rowing boat here in Durham, celebrating not just the sort of maritime history of Britain, but the particular sort of essence of so many of our towns and cities across the country, which are all built around a river going through the middle of them. Durham is a particularly special one, of course, because for 1,000 years it's been a centre of religious learning and indeed just learning in general. I'm being told there's a boat behind me, so let me quickly steer around before we engineer some sort of disaster. We've managed to avoid that sort of disaster, thank goodness, or maybe not, thank goodness. It would have been good telly if we'd crashed, wouldn't it? But no, we've managed to do our bit, and really it was. I shouldn't say this, but we were on the correct side of the river. Anyway, we are, of course, on this boat celebrating what it is to be British across all the different parts of Britain. And thankfully, the weather is holding up here in the northeast of England because it is mid-August and sometimes it can be a little bit testy. There was some rain that was projected to perhaps come along today, but it hasn't come along after all. And indeed, it is dry for this marvellous day where we're celebrating Britain up and down the country. And I have to say, I was at university in this city. I came here in 2015 for the first time when I matriculated in, and I always meant to get on one of these rowing boats, Martin, when I was here at Durham, and I never did. I've had a lot of friends who did rowing in not these sort of boats, but proper rowing boats. But you had to get up ever so early in the morning, and I never particularly fancied that when I was a student, perhaps staying a little bit too late out at night. But no, I'm so glad to be back here celebrating Britain on the River Wear in this marvellous rowing boat, seeing everything that this wonderful country has to offer, and of course celebrating 5 years of GB News, going from strength to strength and avoiding any shipwrecks.
Keep going, Tom Harwood. You'll be all the way to Calais soon, mate. I'll tell you what, narrowly avoiding disaster at sea there, charting a course in the name of journalism. And Tom, I always knew you were famed for your stroke, and today, by Jove, you proved it's all right. Tom Harwood, magnificent there, live for us on the river in Durham. Back to Westminster now, and Reform UK has today vowed to crack down on illegal migration and working during a press conference in Westminster early on today, pledging to jail company bosses who use or employ illegal migrant labour. Take a listen.
We will introduce the toughest penalties in the world for those who employ and profit from illegal migrants. We'll restore order to our high streets, protect the integrity of our border and return fairness to the British economy. We will stand up for British workers.
Well, is it a time for clampdown of illegal workers, and it's jailing the bosses? Really the answer. Well, I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by GBNews' political correspondent Catherine Force, who was at that announcement, and the man who made the announcement himself, of course, Reform UK Home Affairs spokesman Zia Youssef. Zia, I'm going to start with you, if I may. Everybody is familiar with the blight of the sudden resurgence of barbershops, of vape shops, of balaclava delivery drivers. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they're from. At their local car wash, nobody seems to speak English. We're all suspicious of the fact there's a lot of illegal working going on. You've promised a bold clampdown today. Tell us all about it.
Well, it's about standing up for British workers. And if there's a stat that sums up the decline of Britain over the last 15 years, for every pub we have tragically lost, 7 vape shops have opened. Every pub we've lost, 7 vape shops have opened. And all of your viewers will be familiar with this. They walk up and down their high street, they see they see vape shops everywhere, they see Turkish barber shops everywhere, they see Lamborghinis going in and out. And these very cash-intensive businesses up on the high street are clearly extremely suspicious. The National Crime Agency says £1 billion, £1 billion is laundered every year through those sorts of businesses. But there's something bigger here too, which is that we've got over 1 million British young people, 16 to 24, now not in education, not in work and not in training. That is a catastrophe. One of the key reasons is because they are competing with essentially the rest of the world, the whole world, for jobs. Likewise, GB News viewers who are working now will know, when was the last time you had a pay rise in line with inflation? Real wages are going nowhere. So what we have said is we are going to make Britain a zero-tolerance society for illegal working, from the soft touch that it is now. Right now, it is a massive soft touch. In fact, that's one of the reasons they are coming. They come across the channel to get taxpayer accommodation and free food, but a lot of them are moonlighting as delivery drivers and as other gig workers. So what we're saying is, number one, if you are a corporate boss, if you're a multinational boss, no matter how rich or powerful you are, and your business recruits illegal workers, regardless of whether regardless of what your knowledge of it was, so we call it a strict liability offence, you will face jail, and we will inflict fines on your business of 10% of global revenues. Now, in doing so, that would take Britain from the soft touch, one of the most lenient and lax countries in the world for illegal workers, to having the harshest regime in the world. That's how we stick up for British workers.
So this has already been dubbed the Deliveroo law, clearly because a lot of people believe that a lot of people working for Deliveroo are doing so illegally. I think there is some data to back that up. But are you seriously suggesting that the CEOs of multinational corporations like this will suddenly find themselves in clink?
Well, if they are employing illegal workers, then yes. So, look, our policy is simple. If you come to Britain, and look, this is a general theme here, under a reform government, our laws will actually mean something. Whether it's a 1971 Immigration Act that actually outlaws illegal working, this has basically been ignored by Tory and Labour governments, we're not going to ignore it. Right? If you break into the country illegally, you have broken our laws. You'll be treated as such. You'll be detained and you'll be deported. If you come here and you work illegally, likewise. If you are a corporate boss, we are going to place parity between serious financial crime and employing illegal workers. Because one can make an argument that the undermining of the British economy, the robbing of our young people of opportunity, the exasperation that British workers feel that they never seem to get a pay rise. Why? Because you have this, what I call corporate imperialism that's going on. You have these fat cat bosses, some of whose businesses literally rely effectively on sub-market wages driven by illegal immigration. And here's the other really important point. Once you take this incentive away as well, once you stop Britain being a ridiculous soft touch and you uphold our laws, what will happen? The migrants will stop coming here illegally.
OK, Catherine Forsey, you were at the press conference. There's some pretty robust pushback in terms of the question. What kind of things are people criticising the plan for today?
Well, resources, first of all, obviously is going to be expensive. The prisons are already full to bursting and we are letting people out early. The Home Office, of course, are saying, look, we've got record levels of immigration enforcement. So they're saying arrests are up 83%, raids are up 77%. They say that they are doubling the budget by the end of the decade for immigration enforcement. And they say, you're mentioning this Turkish barber hotline to report people, businesses that you think are dodgy. They're saying, well, we've already got that. So they have described this as, they've said, government's already doing a lot of this. The rest is just empty posturing. But what I find difficult to see how it is workable is this notion that you are potentially going to put bosses of multinational companies in jail. I think it's a very appealing idea. I think it would have the majority of the British public behind it. But our track record suggests that the people at the top always get away with it. Look at the post office scandal. I mean, Fujitsu, nobody has gone to jail. Yep. Fujitsu haven't paid a penny in fines and they are still being awarded government contracts. We also have Grenfell. We also have infected blood. The list goes on. So I find it difficult to see how we can really believe that that is doable.
Well, look, all I can say is that this is a big reason why reform exists. No one is angrier than reform voters, than Nigel, than myself, than Richard, about things like that. Look at the postmaster thing, it's exactly right. For years now, there's been one rule for extremely wealthy corporate executives and one rule for everybody else. And all I can say is this: if I'm the Home Secretary of this country and we have a reformed government, if you break these laws, an arrest warrant will be issued, and if you then don't, then then you can get into debate. Okay, if it's a CEO of an American company and they're in America, okay, well, we will have an arrest issue. We will have an arrest warrant out, and we will place as much diplomatic pressure as we can on the Americans to comply. But I want to make the point too that it's not just the CEO. So again, we're modelling a lot of this on the financial crime network ecosystem. So and how that is policed and enforced. So if you look at with financial institutions, for example, they have to have a responsible person in the UK that is a British citizen. We will have exactly the same thing too, and that individual will be responsible. At the very least, those people, they will go to jail. In terms of international chief executives, all I can say is, we will have arrest warrants issued for them. We will uphold the law and we'll place diplomatic pressure on them to get them extradited if necessary.
OK, so you just stick with us. I want to ask you about Kemi Badenoch calling you woke after this. But here's what Labour's Health Secretary Yvette Cooper said about cracking down on illegal working.
Well, this government has done the biggest crackdown on illegal working that our country has ever seen, with a 77% increase in raids. 17,000 businesses have seen raids for illegal working, massive crackdown in terms of the courts, and also more than 50% increase in people who've been illegally working also being deported and returned as well. We take this really seriously, and that's why we've had this major crackdown that's delivering results.
And meanwhile, a Deliveroo spokesman said this: illegal working should absolutely be addressed, and that's why we've led the industry in cracking down on the sophisticated organised criminals who attempt to abuse our platform. We run right-to-work checks on all riders, conduct multiple daily identity checks, and use cutting-edge fraud detection technology. Now, Zia, before you go, I'd like to quickly ask you about the fact that Kemi Badenoch has been on the Ed Balls podcast, and she said she won't ever work for Reform UK because she thinks you're woke.
Well, this coming from the party that allowed rokery to run rampant through our institutions for 14 years. Look, Kemi's had a bad few days, hasn't she? So it's not surprising she's decided to lash out at Reform and call us names. But look, one of the reasons we're in politics at Reform, one of the reasons why Reform exists, is because of the betrayal of the Tories. They spent 14 years lying to the British public. They flooded the country with 11 million migrants, having claimed in 4 consecutive manifestos they would cut it to the tens of thousands. They raised taxes to the highest level since World War II. And by the way, to cope with the 11 million gross, 6 million net new migrants they brought in their 14 years, do you know how many prison places they built? 455. Not 455,000, 455. They broke our public service. They broke our justice system. And look, I maintain my view: after the next general election, the Tories will no longer be a viable political party.
OK, so Yusuf, brusque words. Thank you very much for joining us today in Westminster. Catherine Forster, superb as ever. Thank you. Time now for the Great British Giveaway, and your chance to win £60,000 in tax-free moolah and a real gold bar worth over £5,000. Here's Hayley Sparks with all of the details.
Welcome to All Asante by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating a golden summer. And you could be enjoying a golden year with an incredible £60,000 to be won. That's tax-free cash that you'll get to spend on anything you like. What would you do with it? You could relax knowing that we've got those day-to-day financial pressures sorted. Or find yourself celebrating in the lap of 5-star luxury, somewhere like here, the Spritzeria. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 that you can keep or gift to a loved one. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Some breaking news for you now, and it's this. The disgraced former reality TV star Stephen Bear has been jailed for breaching a restraining order imposed to protect Georgia Harrison. Bear has been sentenced to 16 months in prison for repeatedly breaching the restraining order by posting about Georgia Harrison on social media. The 5-year restraining order was imposed in 2023 after Bear was found guilty of disclosing private sexual photographs and films of Miss Harrison with intent to cause distress and voyeurism. He also received a 21-month prison sentence for his crimes. Still to come, we're discussing the petition now calling for the early release of 2 of PC Andrew Harper's killers to be blocked. It's now surpassed the $500,000 mark. I'll be joined by a former copper who's going on a cycle ride to raise money for the family. And also, we continue our special coverage celebrating what makes Britain truly great. The People's Channel is putting you, the great British public, at the front and centre as we celebrate Britain as we turn 5 years old. Don't go anywhere.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Beautiful stuff. It's 3:28. Welcome back to the Martin Daubney Show with me, Martin Daubney. Now, all the day today, we'll be celebrating Britain and all of the areas which make it great. Let's now speak to GB News presenter Alex Armstrong, who's beautifully up there for us in Aberdeen, the Granite City. Aberdeen, beautiful. Alex, over to you.
Yes, Martin, I have to say we've had such a fantastic time up here in Scotland, in, as you say, the granite city, the great city of Aberdeen. Hello, everybody. You're live on GB News. Yes. Wonderful members. We had a lovely day. I've had tasted of local delicacies. We've done Morris dancing. We've spoken to politicians. We've spoken to these lovely people. What an event it's been. But we do have one more guest, and it's an important guest. I've got the president of NFU, the National Farmers Union Scotland, here with me. Now, look, we talk about farmers a lot. It's really close to us here at GB News. What's going on with farms up here in Scotland?
I would say, just like throughout the UK at the moment, there's big challenges in agriculture, and we've seen it this year especially with the Middle East crisis. The input costs have risen, the cost of fuel, cost of fertiliser. The availability of fuel and fertiliser is still a worry. That then impacts in food supply and also in food security going forward. But profitability is under threat. And if we don't have a profitable industry, then that will impact in domestic food production going forward.
Fertiliser is actually a bigger problem than people think it is, right? We get a lot of that good fertiliser out of the Strait of Hormuz, which is currently in the middle of a war with Iran and the United States. How's that impacting you? Because it's a bit of a trickle effect. It takes a while to impact farmers, doesn't it?
It certainly does, and in the early spring there was huge concerns about it going forward. Thankfully supply has come through, but then every time there's another bomb drop in the Middle East, the fertiliser price goes up, the fuel price goes up. How can we budget and how can we function as an industry? It's making it very difficult, I have to say, and I think that's why it's essential that going forward we need to take control of our own destiny, control of our own fuel production or fertiliser production, so we can then ensure as good a supply of food as possible. That is essential. And on that, even domestic fertiliser production, let's look at renewables up in Aberdeenshire here and throughout Scotland, the wind turbines and such like. Convert that into hydrogen and then into ammonia, green fertiliser. That has to be a way ahead.
There we go. Listen, thank you so much. It's really important because there's different issues for farming up and down the country. They're not all the same everywhere we go. So thank you for bringing us that important information. And I want to say thank you to all of you who have made this day so special, because this is about celebrating Britain and celebrating Aberdeen and Scotland, importantly. Thank you all so much for being here. I really mean that. Thank you. You've all been absolutely fantastic. There is nothing more we love than our GB News audience and our GB News members who make this all so worthwhile for us. And I'm really looking forward to taking some of these incredible views that we've heard here in the Granite City back down to Patrick Christie's tonight, 9 p.m. in Essex, where we're going to have a massive live show, Martin, and I think we're going to have a fantastic time.
Yeah, I'll be there, mate, and I might even be putting a few points for some of our viewers and listeners. Alex Armstrong, give my love and respect to the people, great people of Aberdeen. Let's drill, baby, drill. Let's make that prosperous again there. And always remember, no farmers, no food. Say thanks to the farmers there and all those wonderful people there in Aberdeen. Thank you very much indeed, Alex Armstrong. Beautiful stuff. Now, a reminder, we do have some very special shows celebrating Great Britain tonight, and that, of course, Michelle Dewberry should be live this tonight from Essex at 6 p.m. for a special programme that promises to pay tribute to you, the great British viewer. And also Patrick Christie's a mega show. We'll be broadcasting live from 9 p.m. Be sure to tune in. I'll be there with Jubes on Patrick's show later on this evening. Guest looking.
All day today, we're celebrating what makes Britain great. And then tonight, we're leaving the studio behind to take GB News on the road. Join me alongside the GB News family and a very special live audience as we head to Essex for the Celebrate Britain grand finale. Don't miss this incredible night. Jubes & Co. live from 6 p.m. and Patrick Christie's tonight live from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Can't wait to see you there later on now. Still to come, the petition calling for the early release of two of PC Andrew Harper's killers to be blocked has now surpassed more than 500,000 signatures. I'll be joined by a gentleman, a former copper, who's out on a sponsored cycle race to try and raise money for the Harper family. First, though, here's your headlines, and here's Sam Francis.
Martin, thank you. Good afternoon. Just after 3:30 breaking this hour, former TV star Stephen Bear has been jailed for 16 months for repeatedly breaching a restraining order by posting about his ex-partner, Georgia Harrison. The order banned him from contacting her or commenting about her online after his previous conviction for disclosing private sexual images. 2 men have been arrested after police officers were taken to hospital during a second night of disorder in Thetford. Norfolk police officers were attacked after a group tried to gain access to a residential property following an anti-immigration protest in the town. A woman has been charged in London after 4 men were injured in a stabbing in Covent Garden. Stella Golovena is accused of 4 counts of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm and possession of an offensive weapon in a public space. Reform UK says company bosses should face jail if they employ people without the right to work in the UK. The party says firms should also be fined 10% of their global revenues, but the government says it's already launched the biggest crackdown on illegal working the country has ever seen. And Gianni Infantino has apologised for errors made in a controversial plan to sell off stakes in FIFA competitions to private investors. He will, though, remain FIFA president after receiving the backing of senior executives after a crisis meeting in Morocco. Those are the latest headlines. Do stay with us. Martin, straight back after this.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Rain pushes into parts of the northwest through the rest of today. Elsewhere, though, it will remain dry, though remaining fairly cool, much cooler than it has been lately. That's thanks to a ridge of high pressure and northerly winds wrapping around this ridge, pushing in from the north and east. It does mean there has been a bit of a breeze across eastern coast. That should ease through the rest of today and overnight. And clear skies will likely develop across much of England and Wales, some eastern areas of Scotland too, as well as Northern Ireland. Further north and west, though, cloudier and wetter skies move in. The winds will increase here to near gale force as well. So under the clearer skies, temperatures will fall away rurally down into the low single figures. So it's likely to be a fairly fresh start to the day across more southern areas. But across the north, it's going to be a much wetter day. The far north and west of Scotland, the Highlands and Western Isles seeing the worst of any rain. And those strong gusty winds as well into the morning. Dry for Northern Ireland, plenty of sunshine as well as southern Scotland and elsewhere across the UK. You'll see there's a few showers here and there, but I think most of us are going to see a dry start to the day. There'll be more in the way of sunshine to come throughout Friday, so it will feel a little bit warmer than it has done today. Still a risk of the odd shower, relatively light one across some central areas of England, some parts of Wales too, but much of the rain's going to be focused once again across the very far north of Scotland, where it will turn relatively persistent into the afternoon. So cooler here, but elsewhere a warmer day with temperatures climbing towards 25 degrees. In the south and east. So quite a warm end to the week, but it is going to turn hotter as we approach the weekend. Another relatively cool evening, though, to come on Friday. So a fresher start, but temperatures will climb through Saturday across southern areas. Plenty of sunshine across the south as well, temperatures reaching 30 degrees by Sunday. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The M27 westbound has a lane closure at junction 9 in Whiteley. The M4 is closed between junctions 15 and 14 in Hungerford. In Scotland, the M8 eastbound has a lane restriction and queue at junction 19 near Kingston Bridge. Across Wales, the A4232 southbound from M4 J33 Capel Llanilturn to A48 interchange is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services are facing major disruption, with cross-country also reduced between Newport and Cardiff Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Time is 3:38 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, a petition urging Andy Burnham not to release PC Andrew Harper's killers early from prison has now surpassed the 500,000 mark. More than 500,000 Brits have signed it. Campaigners were left outraged on Tuesday after the Prime Minister approved the early release for a number of criminals who'd served half their sentences. And Lizzie Harper, the widow of the former 28-year-old police officer, said she'd expressed her disappointment to the Justice Secretary over the decision to release Albert Bowers and Jessie Cole. Well, I'm delighted now to be joined in the studio in Westminster by the former Police and Crime Commissioner, a great friend of the show. There's Festus Akinbusiye. Festus, you have a very personal connection to this story. You're about to perform a charity cycle ride, but before we get to that, tell us about your connection with PC Andrew Harper.
I remember the story about PC Harper losing his life, and I had the privilege of being one of the many people who were invited to his funeral at Oxford Cathedral all those years ago. And I was sat literally behind his chief constable and the then Home Secretary. And the haunting memory that I have of this absolutely overwhelming and sobering experience was listening to Lizzie Harper speaking on the pulpit and eulogizing her husband, when you could see the tea mug that Andrew drank from and the things that he liked on his coffin. And she was talking about what kind of future she was looking forward to. And they'd just been married a few weeks. And you see grown men and women in police uniform in this cathedral sobbing. It was very difficult, and fast forward a few years to 2022, when I took part in my first Police Unity tour, and we had cycled, I don't know how many 100 miles that particular day, and we got to Tamworth, and we're all shaking hands with everybody and everything, and I saw this lady with a name band, with the badge on her around her neck, and it said something Harper. And I thought, are you? And she said, I'm Andrew's mum, Festus. And I just put my arms around her and just gave her a hug, because all the memories from that funeral service just came flooding back.
And Festus, we can see that picture on the screen there now. That's you hugging PC Harper's mum, and you're getting very, very emotional now. I can see in your eyes talking about it. You're a great move. You're a special constable yourself. Police and Crime Commissioner at the funeral that close, and here we are now, the early release, potentially, of these two scumbags.
I'm angry about this. I don't care what anybody says about, oh, we don't make exceptions, blah, blah. It's nonsensical. How many people are in our prisons for killing a police officer? If that's not an exception, I don't know what is. Andy Burnham, if he wants to continue to enjoy the kind of loving that he's getting at the moment, he has got to stop whatever he's doing his holiday now and order the release of these individuals to be stopped immediately. Immediately.
Festus, when you compare the picture of you hugging PC Harper's mother and you see these two, I've got to be careful what I say here, laughing. Look at them.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I mean, absolutely no remorse, no conscience, no understanding. And the circumstance surrounding the way that Andrew was killed is just horrific. All for what? Doing his job. And I think it goes to also say something about how we treat policing in this country. And I'm sorry to say that it is nowhere near as good as it ought to be. And if there ever was an example of that at the moment, it is what's going on at the moment around this early release. And why does it have to be even a conversation for the Home Secretary and the Justice Secretary, and especially the Prime Minister, to stop this? It is wrong, it is wrong, it is absolutely wrong.
Festus, tomorrow, you're going to do something positive about this. You're going to knuckle down, hence you're wearing your lycra. It is
yes, I'm a mammal.
You're a mammal, middle-aged man in lycra.
Yes.
It's the care of police survivors, cops, annual charity bike ride. Tell us about that. And you're racing for money, and people can get involved and support you. Tell us all about it.
So this has been going, I think it's going to be their 16th year. It's my 3rd year riding with them. I'm riding with the London chapter for my 2nd year this time around. And all police officers and supporters from around the country who are signed up for this are raising money for a charity called Care of Police Survivors, or COBS, for the Police Unity Tour. And we all ride from our force areas from across the country. Some do over 4 days, we do over 3 days, and we all descend on the National Arboretum in Staffordshire on Sunday. So we are going to be doing roughly about 200 miles. Now, anybody who knows the distance from London to Staffordshire is not 200 miles. But we do have some very interesting marshals who take us through the scenic routes. So it's quite punishing, but it's for a great cause.
Festus, before I direct our viewers and listeners to try and back you to get some funding in that, I want to ask you something. When you're on the road and you're in the zone, and you're thinking serious thoughts about the fallen, those who've given their lives, you must really get in that moment where it's almost transcendental, thinking about those who paid the ultimate sacrifice.
What's in your mind is that you know that at the end of each day, you're going to either have cycled with someone who knows an officer that died. In my first year, I cycled alongside an officer who literally was the first on scene of his colleague that he was going to be a crewmate with, who was stabbed in the neck and died. And at the end of it, you're going to see the children and the partners and the parents of these officers. And this charity, the money goes to provide support services for them, takes these kids on holidays, counseling for them, activities. Some of these kids, they were so young when their father or mother died, they don't remember them. And because they were police officers, you know? And for me, it is such a rewarding thing, even though it's absolutely painful process. At the end of 3 days, I'm very, very sore. I walk like a cowboy on my 3rd day, but you know what? It is absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it.
OK, Festus, how can people get involved? Care of Police Survivors. COPS is the charity. If they want to chuck a few quid your way, how can they do that, mate? They can go to my Just Giving page. If you just Google Festus, Just Giving, it will come up with the link. Please donate. Every single penny from that fundraiser goes to this charity to provide support for the families of the police officers who sadly died on duty protecting all of us. Festus, of course, Festus. That's your Just Giving page. Yes. Go there. Festus Akinbusoye. You know, I thought you were a legend before today. Okay, thank you very much. I really do now, mate. Thank you. You're a top man on the island. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Coming up next, we're continuing our special coverage celebrating what makes Britain great, people like him. And this time we'll be live in Barry Island there in South Wales. Meanwhile, though, for search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast of some of your top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, you're heading away for the next few days. Plenty of dry and sunny weather across much of Europe. A risk of thunderstorms across some alpine regions. But for the Canary Islands, temperatures are climbing into the mid-30s. We're in the low 30s across parts of Spain. Plenty of hot sunshine, though. It's across the Alps where you can see these thunderstorms affecting parts of the Mediterranean towards Greece and Croatia as well. Here, again, temperatures in the mid-30s. Very hot indeed. And there is more of the same to come. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Charlie, as most of the viewers know, I would be involved in agriculture. This isn't quite agriculture. It's quite close to it, the cousins of. A lot of things that go on in agriculture are on display here. Thousands of people coming to this site, Ragley Hall, just about 45 minutes out of Birmingham.
We are the modern ruralists, and here today we have the craft yard. We've got 9 different crafts, all demonstrating what they're up to. Here we have the wheelwrights. and they're bonding a wheel here. So this is an ancient craft that's been going for about. Barney Murray's a bit of a legend, quite frankly. He's the national champion, master dry stone waller, comes from North Wales, and he's a bit of a Thor lookalike, so he's quite popular.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now, at 16 minutes past 8, the annual bike ride from Yorkshire to London is taking place today, aiming to honour the legacy of the Batley and Spen Labour MP Jo Cox, who was murdered by a far-right terrorist in June of 2016.
Well, the bike ride aims to champion a cause she was passionate about, as this year marks the 10th anniversary of her tragic death.
Kim, if we can just start with you, what is your sister's legacy?
Well, there's so much that we've got to be proud of that's been done in Jo's name. It's just been 10 years since she was murdered, and what has kept us going as a family has been the way that so many amazing people, including people like this amazing man, have done things in Jo's name to show what our country is really about. And you've got all these amazing people today from all different backgrounds, all walks of life, celebrating the things that we have in common, not agreeing on everything.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
It's a difficult question. Honestly, I don't think I would at this rate, because I think the government tracks, when we say we're fighting for Britain, what are we actually fighting for? The concept of Britain, I don't think exists anymore. When I look at Britain, when I go outside, it doesn't seem to be very British. And I think the core demographic of the people who would normally fight, these white working class boys who, you know, have been fighting for Britain, who we expect just to sacrifice their life in a fight, you know, they've been demonised for decades and decades by the government, by our education system, by the media. Economically, they've been disadvantaged. So why would we expect them to risk their lives when we've demonised them for so long and took them for granted for so long? And this concept of Britain fighting for the British government, you know, the British government has betrayed us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Magnificent. Welcome back. It's 10 to 4 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, all day today, we'll be celebrating Britain and all the areas which make it great. So let's now speak with GB News reporter Meg Cope, who's live there for us in Barry in South Wales. I know Barry well used to go there on holiday as a kid. Meg, over to you.
Hi Martin, what's occurring? Yes, I've been in Barry Island all day long. What a day it's been. We've been on the bumper cars, we've been on the roller coasters, and right now I'm exploring the set, I should say, not really a set, it's a real house of Gavin and Stacey. All of this is original from the show. Nothing's changed. Look at all the memorabilia here. It's honestly incredible. Now, joining me now is Britain's #1 personator of Nessa, Kaz Barrett. Kaz, so good to have you. I know you've popped up throughout the day, but so good just to have a chat with you about, you know, how has this come about? What made you want to be this Nessa impersonator? Did you get told that you sound just like her?
Yeah, for years and years, everyone used to go, you know, you sound like Ness. And if Ruth Jones met you, she based the character on you. That was exactly what I used to get all the time. And then Christmas 2019, when they did the special, Ruth came to Barry and she turned the lights on at Barry Town, where they did the Mime Artist skit. And no one could see her, no one could hear her. 4,000 people turned up and the square's tiny. So I was running a cafe on the high street and I decided, well, we're having a light switch on. They tell me I'm Ness, I'm going to be Ness. So I dressed up as Ness, run up and down the high street, abused everybody. It was the best day of my life. And I thought, I could do this for a living. And a friend of mine is a David Beckham impersonator, and he has a company called Lookalikes. And he asked me if I'd do a job for him, and I was like, no, I don't do anything like that, you know, I'm just a carer, that's what I do. And he went, do the interview and see how you get on. Came back to me 2 days later, didn't even ask him what the job was. And he said, you got the job. I went, all right, yeah, what is it then? He went, Ruth Jones's body double and voiceover for the BBC for an advert.
Wow.
I know. So I literally was straight in, hit the ground running, haven't looked back.
So you're literally doing this full time now.
Yeah.
That's how popular Gavin and Stacey is here. And it's not just people in Wales who love the show. It's all over the world, isn't it?
All over the world. We've had people come from Australia, America, Hawaii. Hawaii was hilarious because she was so nice. It was brilliant. And I said to her, Hawaii are you here? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm getting on a plane going to Hawaii for my holiday. You're not going to get on a plane and go to Barry Island. And she said, on the island of Maui, it's a cult classic. We all go around saying, what's occurring? So I got a vision of The Rock going, all right, Ness, what's occurring? I'm all over that.
That's absolutely brilliant. And you do tours here as well, don't you?
We do. Netflix is the company that I own, and we do evening tours where we go around Barry and we have a skinful and do karaoke and go to all the locations where they filmed. And it's
amazing.
Really good laugh, yeah.
Right, just before we hand back, you've got to say what's occurring to Martin. It's his show.
Oh, Martin, what's occurring? You all right, babes? Tidy.
There you go, Martin.
I'll tell you what's occurring. I'm on the next train to Barry Island, mate. That's what's occurring. That looks magnificent. The set, I
Get
mean.
down here, come on.
Come on, get on the tour.
I've got to go to Essex with Patrick Christie tonight. But ladies, magnificent stuff there from Barry Island. Thank you very much indeed. Don't go anywhere now. We've got more on the crackdown on illegal workers from Reform UK. That's next.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Rain pushes into parts of the northwest through the rest of today. Elsewhere, though, it will remain dry, though remaining fairly cool, much cooler than it has been lately. That's thanks to a ridge of high pressure and northerly winds wrapping around this ridge, pushing in from the north and east. It does mean there has been a bit of a breeze across eastern coast. That should ease through the rest of today and overnight. And clear skies will likely develop across much of England and Wales, some eastern areas of Scotland too, as well as Northern Ireland. Further north and west, though, cloudier and wetter skies move in. The winds will increase here to near gale force as well. So under the clearer skies, temperatures will fall away rurally down into the low single figures. So it's likely to be a fairly fresh start to the day across more southern areas. But across the north, it's going to be a much wetter day. The far north and west of Scotland, the Highlands and Western Isles seeing the worst of any rain, and those strong gusty winds as well into the morning. Dry for Northern Ireland, plenty of sunshine, as well as southern Scotland and elsewhere across the UK. You'll see there's a few showers here and there, but I think most of us are going to see a dry start to the day. There'll be more in the way of sunshine to come throughout Friday, so it will feel a little bit warmer than it has done today. Still a risk of the odd shower, relatively light one across some central areas of England, some parts of Wales too, but much of the rain's going to be focused once again across the very far north of Scotland, where it will turn relatively persistent into the afternoon. So cooler here, but elsewhere a warmer day with temperatures climbing towards 25 degrees. In the south and east. So quite a warm end to the week, but it is going to turn hotter as we approach the weekend. Another relatively cool evening, though, to come on Friday. So a fresher start, but temperatures will climb through Saturday across southern areas. Plenty of sunshine across the south as well, temperatures reaching 30 degrees by Sunday. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M3 westbound is closed at Junction 3 in Camberley. The M4 is closed between junctions 15 and 14 in Hungerford. In Scotland, the M8 eastbound has queuing and 2 lanes are restricted between junctions 19 and 18 at Charing Cross. Across Wales, the A4232 southbound from M4 J33 Capel Llanilturn to A48 interchange is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services are facing major disruption in the Greater Manchester area and the northwest of England. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Magnificent stuff. Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 4 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you until 6 p.m. A special patriotic show awaits, and here's what's on today's show. Top story today at GB News, we're celebrating what makes Britain great in a special day of live coverage from Aberdeen to Durham to Leeds, Essex, Belfast and Barry Island. The People's Channel is putting you, the great British public, first, front and centre as we celebrate Britain as GB News turns 5 years old.
Under a Reform government, this betrayal ends. We will introduce the toughest penalties in the world for those who employ and profit from illegal migrants.
Illegal migrant clampdown today from Reform UK, who says it would jail company bosses who use or even employ illegal migrant labour as they pledge to end illegal working in Britain. I've been joined by Reform UK's Home Affairs spokesperson Zia Yusuf, who discussed it earlier on. Catherine Forster will join me in the studio. It's faced a huge amount of backlash. Will it work? And meanwhile, GB News can today reveal that illegal immigrants in Calais are being handed NGO-funded crib sheets to help them gain their way towards Britain, with help in 16 foreign languages and even a QR code to linking to YouTube tutorial videos on how to gain asylum in Britain. Is the invasion of Britain being aided by foreign charities? And the petition calling for the early release of 2 of PC Andrew Harper's killers has to be blocked has now surpassed more than 500,000 signatures. Today, I've been joined by a former copper who set off on a 200-mile sponsored cycle ride in support of police officers who lost their lives in the line of duty. And the controversial Professor Jason Arday, who's been dubbed the Pinocchio Professor, has stepped down from Cambridge University. Prof Arday claimed to be a record-breaking runner, and even that he took part in a TV series that aired 21 years before he was even born. Here's the question: is woke academia to blame for the rise of the DEI poster boy professor? The locals in Brent are furious over plans to build a 13-storey mega mosque on the site of an old Irish boozer, with 3 prayer levels, Muslim schools and even a morgue. Locals say it will clog an already congested area, but as GB News will reveal today, there are already 39 other mosques in the area. Seriously, is this new mosque even required? And that's all, Camille, in your next hour. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. Crib sheets being handed out on the beaches of France, funded by foreign charities, helping asylum seekers, illegal immigrants, game their way into Britain with emergency telephone numbers to call the Coast Guard, languages in tutorial videos in 16 languages to help them get through, and even advice on how to game the asylum system of foreign charities, helping, aiding and abetting the illegal invasion of Britain. Don't go anywhere. That's next here on GB News. Get in touch usual ways, gbnews.com/your says ways to do so, or scan the QR code on your screens now. But enough from me as your headlines with Sam Francis.
Martin, thank you, and good afternoon to you. Just after 4 o'clock, the top story this hour. Reform UK has said that company bosses should face jail if they employ people without the right to work in the UK. The party says firms should also be fined 10% of their global revenues. That's if they break the rules. It says the plan is aimed at stopping delivery and gig economy companies from profiting from illegal workers without consequences. But the Health Secretary, Yvette Cooper, said today that the government's already launched a record crackdown and raids are up by the hundreds.
Well, this government has done the biggest crackdown on illegal working that our country has ever seen, with a 77% increase in raids. 17,000 businesses have seen raids for illegal working, massive crackdown in terms of the courts, and also more than 50% increase in people who've been illegally working also being deported and returned as well. We take this really seriously, and that's why we've had this major crackdown that is delivering results.
Breaking news this hour that passengers across the country are being warned not to travel. That's after a power failure caused major disruption across Greater Manchester, the North West and the Midlands too. The fault is at the Manchester Rail Operating Centre, which handles rail communications across key routes. National Rail says services could be cancelled, delayed by up to an hour or rescheduled, with passengers urged to check their full journey before setting off. Several operators are affected, including Avanti West Coast, Northern, TransPennine Express, East Midlands Railway and Transport for Rail, with disruption expected until at least the end of Thursday. The former TV personality Stephen Bear has been jailed today for 16 months for repeatedly breaching a restraining order by posting about his ex-partner, Georgia Harrison, online. Between March and July last year, he posted about her across Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X and YouTube. That's despite being banned from doing so. Prosecutors say the post formed part of a campaign of abuse, with Bear making degrading comments and encouraging others to target her. The 5-year restraining order was imposed in 2023. 2 men have been arrested after police officers were taken to hospital during a second night of disorder in Thetford. Norfolk Police says a large group gathered overnight after an earlier anti-immigration protest outside the local police station. Officers were called to reports that people were trying to get into a residential property before some members of the group became aggressive. One officer was struck with a rock, another seriously bitten, and a third was spat at. The area's MP has condemned what he called mob rule and vigilantism. A woman has been charged in London following a stabbing in Covent Garden, the popular tourist hotspot in which 4 men were injured. Stella Golovena was charged today with 4 counts of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm and 1 with a count of possession of an offensive weapon in a public place. A petition urging Andy Burnham not to release PC Andrew Harper's killers has now surpassed 500,000 signatures. On Tuesday, the Prime Minister approved plans to let a number of criminals, including those guilty of murder, be eligible for early release just halfway through their sentences. 2 of those who could be released include Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole, both of whom were convicted of manslaughter in 2020. A University of Cambridge professor at the centre of a plagiarism row has resigned with immediate effect. The university said it launched an investigation into Professor Jason Arday following new information about his academic qualifications and honorary appointments. Mr Arday has been accused of plagiarising parts of his PhD thesis, a book he published, and exaggerating his sporting and fundraising achievements. In his resignation letter, the youngest black professor ever appointed at Cambridge said he no longer wished to live under a constant spotlight. He also admitted errors in his work, but said he'd faced an unrelenting level of public scrutiny and personal attack, adding that he was not a liar. And Gianni Infantino has apologised now for errors he made in controversial plans to sell off stakes in FIFA competitions to private investors, but will remain president after receiving the backing of a number of senior executives at a crisis meeting in Morocco last night. Infantino summoned members of the management board to FIFA's Africa office following mounting criticism of his failed proposals, with World Football's governing body releasing a statement of support just hours after the meeting came to a close. It's after European football's governing body UEFA said at the weekend that it had lost confidence in him, calling the FIFA Forward Enterprise proposal a shabby backroom deal. Those are the latest headlines. I'll hand you straight back now to Martin.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Thank you, Sam. Got some breaking news for you now in this past hour, and it's this. 2 men have been arrested after police officers were injured during a second night of anti-immigration protests in the town in Norfolk. Norfolk police said significant police resources were deployed to Thetford on Wednesday night to maintain public safety after a large group of people gathered outside houses rumoured to be used by asylum seekers. One officer was reportedly hit with a rock, whilst a female officer was bitten. Well, GB News national reporter Will Godley joins us now for all of the latest. Will, bring us up to speed.
Well, Martin, yeah, this has just come through from Norfolk Police. They said this occurred in what was the second night of disorder in Thetford. Now, this is a town in Norfolk, and crowds had been gathering there last night for an anti-immigration protest, but police said they were forced to intervene at about 9:30 following reports that a group of people were trying to gain access to a residential property that was reportedly being used to house asylum seekers. Now, footage on your screens shows some of the scenes in Thetford last night. A large police presence was there guarding this particular property. One councillor, a local councillor who was there, says 30 officers were guarding this property, and other videos on social media appear to show 5 men being escorted out of this particular house as people there chanted, "Get out," and booed at these people as police were escorting them away. But police said as people were trying to gain access to this property, they were forced to intervene. And the police say this group became physically aggressive towards officers. 2 police officers had to be taken to hospital, and the injuries they sustained, a male officer was struck by a rock and a female officer was seriously bitten, Norfolk police say, with her skin being broken. They say a third officer was also spat at. Well, last night, 2 arrests were made. One man aged in his 40s remains in police custody, and a second man in his 60s has been charged with possession of an offensive weapon, that being a wooden bat. Well, he's been released on bail and will appear at Norwich Magistrates Court later this month. And a statement from Norfolk Police, they say, "We recognise that people may hold strong views and feelings about issues. However, no matter how strongly those views are held, there is no place for violence, intimidation or criminal behaviour. We will not stand by and allow violence to take place, whether that's directed towards members of the public, local residents or police officers carrying out their duties." Now, all of these protests and this disorder in Thetford comes after, of course, the Home Office just a few weeks ago announced that asylum seekers would be being held in 3 other RAF and defence sites in the country, one of them being RAF Barnham, which is quite near to Thetford as well. Now, a local MP has called on the Home Office to be more transparent about their plans for this site near Thetford. The Home Office say they're working with local authorities, but no doubt that's just one of the issues that locals will be concerned about.
Thank you, Will Godley there. It's a breaking news story, of course. We'll bring you up to speed throughout the show if there are any more developments. Thank you, Will. Now, top story this afternoon. Reform UK today has vowed to crack down on illegal migration working during a press conference in Westminster earlier on today. They pledged to jail company bosses who use or employ illegal immigrant labour. Let's take a listen.
We will introduce the toughest penalties in the world for those who employ and profit from illegal migrants. We'll restore order to our high streets, protect the integrity of our border and return fairness to the British economy. We will stand up for British workers.
Well, the Labour government fired back straight away. And here's what Labour's Health Secretary Yvette Cooper said about cracking down on the same illegal workers.
Well, this government has done the biggest crackdown on illegal working that our country has ever seen, with a 77% increase in raids. 17,000 businesses have seen raids for illegal working, massive crackdown in terms of the courts, and also more than 50% increase in people who've been illegally working also being deported and returned as well. We take this really seriously, and that's why we've had this major crackdown that's delivering results.
Well, I'm joined now in the studio by GBNews political correspondent Catherine Forster, who was there for the announcement earlier on today. Catherine Forster, we've seen now a series of these big, bold, brash announcements from Reform UK. This is another one that's about as subtle as a baseball bat to the head. Let's be frank, it's like we're going to put CEOs in jail if they even hire a single illegal worker. Now, a great many people watching and listening to GB News today will be sick to the back teeth of illegal working in Britain. Is this the answer?
Well, Reform say that it is. Of course, they're not in power, and we know it's very easy to make promises when you're not in power. We heard those promises of smashing the gangs and stop the boats, and look where we are. But Reform saying they're going to have a hotline so you can dob in suspicious businesses. Well, the Home Office say we've already got that, actually. The Home Office saying they're doubling the amount of money that they're spending on immigration enforcement. But we all see our high streets in decline, don't we? I mean, I'm very guilty of buying things online, as I think many of us are. But it's very depressing to go and see high streets with lots of shut shops and dodgy-looking vape shops, barbers and so on that people suspect, are not going about things the right way. So Reform are saying they're going to get very tough, fines of up to 10% of a company's global earnings, and even jail CEOs, potentially of multinationals. Now, I am sceptical of that for the simple reason that big bosses of companies tend to always get away with whatever it is. Look at the Post Office, look at Grenfell, look at the bankers in the financial crisis. People get away with these things. Zia Youssef saying, no, absolutely not. I would say that would be very difficult to enforce. Also, of course, going to take huge resources. But I think certainly people will appreciate the intention and the fact that this is a very real problem. And Zia Youssef earlier also making a direct line with our young people. We've got a million young people not in education, employment or training under the age of 24. Of course, not good for them, not good for our benefits bill. And so we will see. Tough talk. But again, on Monday, we had another big Reform press conference, another very tough sounding announcement. Are we going to turn the boats back to France? Really? The problem is Australia did it. They did it in the Pacific Ocean, a very large ocean. We've got, a 20-mile channel, the busiest shipping lane in the world. France on the other side, who have already said no to this. And we know that France can be extremely uncooperative. Just look at President Macron's very hard line over Brexit.
Reform UK did say about Operation Fortress they have spoken with the Jordan Bardella himself, and they said if he is the president, they would be prepared to work with them on this, and specifically on this so-called Deliveroo law. Zia was in that chair at 3 o'clock, and he pointed out something incredible. For every pub that closes in Britain, 7 vape shops are now opening, and that's £1 billion of money laundered every year through these illegitimate businesses in Britain. Some kind of clampdown is obviously necessary. People see this, they feel this, they can just experience it in their own neighbourhoods. We see these fellas going around with balaclavas on bikes. No one knows who they are, where they're from, what their legal status is. Certainly, it's got people talking once again. Gavin Forster, superb. Thank you, as ever. Meanwhile, moving on, according to an article in The Telegraph today, a so-called instruction manual on how to safely cross the English Channel for illegal immigrants in a small boat is being given out to illegal immigrants in northern France. Let's now speak with the political commentator and the migration expert, Mike Jones. Mike, it's a pleasure to have your company. An incredible story. This is Lee Anderson, of course, who's been on the beaches of Dunkirk, found one of these leaflets printed in Arabic. And when you scan the QR code on this leaflet, as I have done myself, you were directed to an entire portal in 16 foreign languages of how to call emergency services at sea, how to read tide charts, how to read weather charts, how to game the asylum system when you get to your destination country. Mike Jones, this feels to me every bit like charities aiding and abetting the invasion of Britain.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I don't think we have conclusive evidence so far that it was written by an NGO, but logically that seems to be the case. And NGOs have always been knees deep in the illegal migration crisis because, you know, that's their mission statement, that they want these people to arrive into the UK. They don't care about public opinion. They don't care that it's illegal and it's a violation of Britain's territorial rights. They don't care about the democratic process. Their basic mission statement is a humanitarian one, and they have always been at odds with public opinion and with the democratic process within the United Kingdom. So it would not surprise me at all if these leaflets were produced by NGOs. They're not so much guides on how to cross the channel, because the illegal migrants can't do that themselves. The boats are not equipped to do that. It's more of a survival guide, and if they survive the journey, then it gives them advice on what to do afterwards. But yeah, it's pretty disgusting. I think any NGOs involved in this activity should be prosecuted.
Now, Mike, when you go into these crib sheets, I mean, there's a QR code. You can scan it yourself, and you are instantly directed to an entire information resource in 16 languages, as I said, what to say to immigration officers, how to present yourself. There is direct instructions of calling a Coast Guard at sea when you're on an illegal vessel. There are crib sheets about where to go looking for weather forecasts to advise people when it's safe and when it's not. This is an entire information ecosystem which is helping people get to Britain illegally. It is, Mike.
Yeah, basically. But the NGOs are quite open about this. They're operating very openly, and successive governments haven't introduced laws to stop them, right? So we could introduce laws making it very difficult for these people to operate in that fashion, but we haven't. Well, the Labour Party haven't, and the Tory Party didn't. But at the end of the day, you know, the United Kingdom needs to create a deterrent, right? And what is that deterrent? It's to put these people into detention centres. Obviously, don't put their lives at risk, but put them into a detention centre. Let's scrap all the humanitarian laws that we have on our books. The Human Rights Act has to go. ECHR has to go. Everything else, sort of John Major era, has to go. And let's start deporting these people, and that will create the deterrent effect. Yes, we should punish NGOs that collaborate with the people smugglers and with the camps that are there. But Britain really needs to take a stranglehold of this and create that deterrent effect.
Mike Jones, always a pleasure to have your company on the show. Thank you very much indeed. Now, Catherine Forster, let's bring you in. Andy Burnham is on holiday at the moment. Some people think that's fine. Everyone needs to have a rest. But I put this to you. There's a lot of bad problems in his in-tray when he gets back, and the same problems that finished Rishi Sunak, the same problems that finished Sir Keir Starmer, the small boats crisis, it's just getting started.
Well, yes, I think it is worth saying that at the moment crossings are down 40% on last year, but the boats are getting much bigger, aren't they? I mean, a few years ago you'd have a couple of dozen people. Now we've got boats with 150. We saw that fire the other day. But it is a huge problem. People are understandably furious because they see, I mean, if you go abroad, the checks that you have to do to get into an EU country, you'd be waiting for ages. And yet these people break into the country illegally, put up in hotels, food and board, whatever, spending money, entertainments, things laid on. These are massive pull factors. And until you stop the pull factors, people are going to come. But, you know, looking at this piece, scanning this QR code with, it says at the top, crossing the UK is very dangerous. This information may save your life. All sorts of very helpful information if you are somebody making this crossing in lots of different languages. But the bottom line, of course, is these people are choosing to cross. Sure, it's dangerous. They're choosing to cross from France, having crossed the whole of Europe. Yeah. France is a very safe, very prosperous, very tolerant, by and large, country. So why are they coming here? And possibly some of them have been turned down for asylum in France. Well, if they've been turned down for asylum in France and they're coming here, is there not a good reason why they've been turned down for asylum in France? So, yes, I mean, Andy Burnham is away, but the problems, OK, he communicates well, he's making people feel a bit more positive. Nothing has changed in terms of the problems that the country faces. OK,
thank you very much. And for the full expose on this astonishing story, join me tonight on GB News Tonight at 7 p.m. We'll show you some of these incredible videos, a full tutorial of how to game the system and gain access to the United Kingdom. Now, regarding Reform UK's policy on illegal workers, a Deliveroo spokesman has told GB News this. Illegal working should absolutely be addressed, and that's why we've led the industry in cracking down on the sophisticated organised criminals who attempt to abuse our platform. We'd run right-to-work checks on all riders, conduct multiple daily identity checks and use cutting-edge fraud detection technology. Thank you to you, Catherine Forster. And still to come, Britain's debt is said to have reached £3 trillion for the first time ever, and we've burned through £1 trillion since COVID. We'll be asking, what does Andy Burnham and his Chancellor John Healey plan to do about all of this mess? And also, we continue our special coverage celebrating what makes Britain great. The People's Channel is putting you, the great British public, at the front and centre as we celebrate Britain. We'll be joining Patrick Christys down in Essex. That's next here on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel. At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Beautiful stuff. It is 4:28 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, all day today, we'll be celebrating Britain and all the areas and the people which make it great. One of them is my next guest, GB News presenter, Patrick Christys. Patrick, you're down there in Essex. I'll be joining you later on tonight, my old son. I cannot wait. Tell us about the feast that awaits.
Well, look at this, emerging from the mist like stars in your eyes. And we are here in Essex. I've just got to the venue. I was listening to your wonderful show on the radio in the car on the way here. Everyone's getting everything set up. We've got all the big screens here. And if we come round, we've got the Celebrate Britain screens. This room here is going to be full of hundreds of people, GB News fans, patriotic Brits. You can see people getting it set up here. Now, apparently, they are giving us pyrotechnics, which is really important for me because I said, you know me, Martin, I said, I won't turn up if you don't have fireworks for me. Well, they've adhered to that bit of the rider. Unfortunately, a few other items have been left out, but I'll still perform. And if we pan around here, we can see all the team very, very busy, so getting set up. Everyone's getting everything ready because Michelle's show is going to be live from here as well, 6 to 7 p.m. I know that your attention will probably be drawn, Martin, to that bar in the far corner over there, where we're going to be recording a bit of our show from. Adam Brooks is going to be here. He knows how to pull a pint, doesn't he? The pub landlord. Let's have a little look around there and see if we can get that in. And look, the whole point of this is that it's 5 years, of course, from GB News' inception. What a 5 years it's been. We've come a heck of a long way, given that they said quite proudly that we would not last the 6 months. But it's also a day to celebrate Britain, and GB News has been doing that impeccably so far today, up and down the country. I even listened on the radio to a bit of Tom out rowing, or punting, as I think it's known. And well done, Martin, for resisting the obvious joke there. But look, this is an absolutely stunning venue. It's going to have 7 different GB News hosts, I believe, here. Loads of GB News viewers and listeners, some special guests as well, and fan favourites. And we are going to be hitting those key topics of the day. You've got reforms, immigration announcement, the fact that the country's about to be £3 trillion in debt. I believe that... Oh, hello, Michelle's here. Well, there you are. You're live on television now, Michelle.
Hello, television. My face is naked. I'm not yet made up, but I'm very excited. I'm fresh from the beach. I've even got my beach shoes still on. The bosses are not very impressed with that. I've left some of my glamour on the beach, but I'm very excited to join you guys later on.
So you're here from 6 p.m, aren't you?
I am indeed, yes. We'll be out and about talking to the British public. We've got lots of familiar faces on the panel, shall we say. And yeah, there is a lot of celebration to be done. That's what I want to do tonight. I think it's all about celebrating what's good in Britain. So I'm asking people, actually, if there's anyone there, get in touch. Tell me, what do you love about Britain? What do you want to celebrate about Britain as well? They know how to get hold of you guys by now. And what we'll do is we'll read out as many of them as we can during my show at 6 o'clock.
No, it's going to be absolutely fantastic there. So well done, everyone who's been busy setting this up. I can't wait to see what happens with the fireworks. And I want to know who's going to be the first one to fall off stage as well. I suspect it might actually be me, because it is a little bit dark in here. But
very dark.
Back over to you, Martin. I'm looking forward to seeing you later as well, mate. I hope you managed to make it on time with all the traffic.
Yeah, well, Patrick, I'm presenting here 7 till 8, but I'll be with you as soon as I can in the Batmobile. And I'll tell you what, it looks fantastic there. A superstar venue, a couple of superstars there. Michelle Juby, you can't mention the word naked and you in the same sentence. The viewers are already overexcited, Michelle Juby. Please calm it down. I'll see you guys about 9:30. The show kicks off at 9 p.m. It's going to be magnificent. Thank you very much indeed, Jubes and Patrick Christys. Let's get on now to GB News Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie, who joins us from Belfast for yet more celebrations. Doogie, Dougie, so far. We've had river dancing from you, we've had music from you, you've been on a boat, you've got the whole lot, mate. What you got for us now?
Oh, well, we're outside St Anne's Cathedral in a place called Riders Square. It's another place where the FLA is fully underway, and we've just enjoyed an orchestra there with violins, pipes, penny whistles, etc. And part of our culture is music and how important it is to us, and so many of our children actually play instruments compared to the rest of the UK. And joining me now is Michael and Terry. Terry, I'll come to you first. Your daddy.
I am.
Yeah, I mean, why did you decide to get your son into music?
To be honest with you, it was an accident at the start. He had been listening to some music. We went to what they call a FLA. We didn't even know really what that meant. He heard some music and he said to me at the age of 5, Dad, I want to play music like that. We went up to the stage and the people were from Ards. So we just thought it's meant to be. And you started on your penny whistle and you've been going since you were 5. And you're now on to the uilleann pipes, second year of that. And it's just a beautiful thing for them to be involved. And you won't mind me saying you have a autism diagnosis. And the music has been wonderful as not only entertainment, but helping him focus on processes that have helped him in school and helped him in many, many ways beyond that.
Well, it's time to hear from the man himself. Michael, what are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play a set of rails.
Okay. And what do you hear this, Martin? This is class. Here we go. Well, there you go. Young Michael, what an absolute star he is, and what a talented lot of children we actually have on the island of Ireland. And with that, it's back to you, Martin.
Dougie Beattie, absolutely wonderful. Please say well done there to young Michael and his dad. It's just beautiful to hear that traditional music. Marvellous stuff. Thank you very much there, Dougie Beattie, live from Belfast. And Dougie, I want to see you dancing before the day's out, mate. Get down the bar. Now, still to come next, Britain's debt is said to have spiralled to an astonishing £3 trillion for the first time in history. And we've burned through £1 trillion since COVID. We'll be asking, what does Andy Burnham and his new Chancellor John Healey plan to do about this national debt disaster? That's next.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Rain pushes into parts of the northwest through the rest of today. Elsewhere, though, it will remain dry, though remaining fairly cool, much cooler than it has been lately. That's thanks to a ridge of high pressure and northerly winds wrapping around this ridge, pushing in from the north and east. It does mean there has been a bit of a breeze across eastern coast. That should ease through the rest of today and overnight. And clear skies will likely develop across much of England and Wales, some eastern areas of Scotland too, as well as Northern Ireland. Further north and west, though, cloudier and wetter skies move in. The winds will increase here to near gale force as well. So under the clearer skies, temperatures will fall away rurally down into the low single figures. So it's likely to be a fairly fresh start to the day across more southern areas. But across the north, it's going to be a much wetter day. The far north and west of Scotland, the Highlands and Western Isles seeing the worst of any rain, and those strong gusty winds as well into the morning. Dry for Northern Ireland, plenty of sunshine as well as southern Scotland and elsewhere across the UK. You'll see there's a few showers here and there, but I think most of us are going to see a dry start to the day. There'll be more in the way of sunshine to come throughout Friday, so it will feel a little bit warmer than it has done today. Still a risk of the odd shower, relatively light one across some central areas of England, some parts of Wales too, but much of the rain's going to be focused once again across the very far north of Scotland, where it will turn relatively persistent into the afternoon. So cooler here, but elsewhere a warmer day with temperatures climbing towards 25 degrees in the south and east. So quite a warm end to the week, but it is going to turn hotter as we approach the weekend. Another relatively cool evening, though, to come on Friday. So a fresher start, but temperatures will climb through Saturday across southern areas. Plenty of sunshine across the south as well, temperatures reaching 30 degrees by Sunday. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M2 eastbound is closed between junctions 3 and 4 in Chatham. In Scotland, the A720 eastbound has 2 lanes restricted at the A702, Lothian-Burn Junction. Across Wales, the A4232 southbound from M4J33 Capel Lanilturn to A48 interchange is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services are facing major disruption in the Greater Manchester area and the northwest of England, with cross-country also reduced between Newport and Cardiff Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Time is 4:39 now. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, Britain's services sector has recorded its longest run of job losses since the 2008 financial crash, and that's according to new figures from S&P Global Market Intelligence. Employment has now fallen for 22 consecutive months, with pubs, restaurants, cafes, hairdressers and professional services amongst those hammered. Now, this comes as the size of the UK's national debt has now risen above £3 trillion for the first time. Eye-watering numbers. Let's now speak with the political commentator and the independent statistician, great friend of the show, Jamie Jenkins. Jamie, £3 trillion. Numbers so big you can barely get your head around them.
Yeah, huge numbers, Martin. And the reason for that isn't just obviously the Labour government. I think we've borrowed 285.6 billion in the Labour government since they've come in. We had the borrowing under COVID. There was a lot of borrowing after the financial crisis in 2008. And we haven't had a surplus. So if you think of a government, and if they were running it like a household, we haven't had a surplus for over 25 years. So you've literally had a generation of people who've been born where the government borrowed every single year. And it's unsustainable, Martin, when you actually factor it all in.
Jamie, if you're any old business and you're borrowing at a rate beyond the wealth that you can create, well, that's a recipe for bankruptcy. Is that the way we're heading?
I think so, Martin, because ultimately what's happening is every single year the government's got more kind of spending going out than what they're bringing in. And when they try and tackle this, we've got a huge amount going on, obviously the interest that we have, over 100 billion a year just on servicing the actual 3 trillion debt that we've got. But the government talked tough on trying to get the benefits bill down, but that didn't come to pass because of the backbenchers. We've got around 13 billion a year going on foreign aid, and all the benefits bills and the triple lock, all kind of what you tend to find is everything's going up with inflation. So you've got to basically get spending under control, or the other metric that the government looks at is spending as a percentage of GDP. So if you can get spending, basically, if you can get GDP to grow, you can actually have spending and borrowing as a percentage of GDP coming down as well. But we've got no growth in the country, so that's another big challenge with the government as well.
Jamie Jenkins, we just saw pictures there of Andy Burnham enjoying a pint in a pub with John Healey. He's talked about pubs being central to working class Britain. He is, of course, right. The problem is one a day is closing. Jamie, we have to address, do we not, hikes in national insurance, hikes in minimum wage. All of these things have greatly contributed towards extra pressure on pubs and indeed the entire service industry. Surely they need tax breaks.
Well, I think a bit of I told you so, because we've been talking about this for many, many months, probably about over a year now, Martin, and it's come to fruition now. Andy Burnham has started reversing some of the policies of Keir Starmer. So I think you've got to look at it in the round. So you're right. So the national minimum wage went up. It went up disproportionately higher for younger people. But I think what the government needs to look at is the total cost of employing somebody. So it's not just the minimum wage that goes in there, it's the taxes that go on top. Because having an average hourly rate that is higher, having that on the books when actually you haven't got any hours because they're basically not being employed, it does nothing for people. So that's the first thing. I think they also need to cut tax on entry-level jobs, because remember, we've got this youth jobs crisis in the country, and the jobs that have been showing this decline over 22 months overall, those are a load of those jobs where young people would get some experience. So they've got lots of qualifications coming out of university, school, but they've got no experience and they can't get that experience because there's fewer of those jobs. So yeah, cutting tax, looking at the full system in terms of basically the full cost of employing somebody. And I've said this to you before on the show, Martin, they've got to reform the education system. You cannot have people coming out with these kind of academic qualifications. We need people who can actually do jobs that go straight into the labour market and actually work. That's another big thing that they need to be doing for younger people.
Jamie Jenkins, as ever, a font of knowledge, and I keep saying the same old problems will be in the in-tray of the new Prime Minister when he comes back. The same problems that have haunted Sir Keir Starmer, the same problems that haunted Rishi Sunak. We need a different approach, and we can't keep borrowing money. We need to cut spending, and at the same time, the biscuit tin is empty. Jamie Jenkins, always a pleasure and never a chore to have you on the show. Thank you very much. Stats of the Nation is your Substack. Get on it. Jamie Jenkins, superb. Now, coming up, the number of people referred to the government's Prevent programme, that's the anti-terror watchdog, has reached a record high. But guess what? Are they chasing the mythical far right while turning a blind eye to Islamist terrorism? Well, I'll speak with a former Prevent officer next. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, then here's a forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, you're heading away for the next few days. Plenty of dry and sunny weather across much of Europe. A risk of thunderstorms across some alpine regions. But for the Canary Islands, temperatures are climbing into the mid-30s. We're in the low 30s across parts of Spain. Plenty of hot sunshine, though. It's across the Alps where you can see these thunderstorms affecting parts of the Mediterranean towards Greece and Croatia as well. Here again, temperatures in the mid-30s, very hot indeed. And there is more of the same to come. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain's Newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Yes, the Malaysian government has announced that it will renew the search for Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, which disappeared 10 years ago without a trace.
Yes, the plane was carrying 239 people from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Previous attempts to locate the plane have all failed, leaving the families of those on board without any kind of closure.
Well, for more on this, let's speak to Terry Tozer, a former airline pilot and author of Confessions of an Airline Pilot, Why Planes Crash. Terry, you sound like the perfect man to talk to about this, because this is perhaps the biggest aviation mystery of our modern age.
Yeah, it is, and obviously a great tragedy as well. It's good to know that they're going to have another crack at trying to find it.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is just health and safety gone mad. It's not the role of public authorities to be telling people what's for their best interest. And the reality is it's probably better to take the chance of a tree branch falling on you than going out in the sun and getting getting burnt in the sun. But the reality is the reason why these councils are saying you've got to stay out of underneath the trees is they don't want anybody to get struck by a branch which they have a liability to, whilst they don't have a liability for anybody getting sunburnt. So it's all to do with public liability. I mean, if you look at East Cheshire Council, for example, in 2024, they had to pay out £500,000 because a branch fell on somebody.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In my hand, I have a colander. I have a piece of paper. Yes, there you have one too. So I'm going to run it so you can see me. So I think what you do is you shine, you indicate, you tell me what to do, and I'll do it for you.
You never look at the sun directly.
Yep,
you
good.
allow the light to go through the colander, and that'll actually act as a pinhole camera and project images of the sun onto the piece of paper, and then you can look at the piece of paper and see the eclipse take place. Simple as that. You can do it also by using binoculars or a telescope and projecting an image through from them onto a piece of paper.
Yeah.
That will work just as well. Or get a bucket of water, let it settle, and look in the bucket of water, and you'll see the image of the sun in the water, and then you can observe the eclipse that way.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It is 4:47. Breaking news for you now, and it's this. Rail services across northern England have been severely disrupted following a power failure at a communications centre. Transport for Greater Manchester said the issue occurred at the Manchester Rail Operating Centre at around 2 p.m. this afternoon. I'm delighted to be joined in the studio in Westminster by Simon Kohler, of course, a presenter at the Telegraph's Travel Expert podcast. Simon, always a pleasure to have you. Going to be major rail disruption. What's caused it?
Well, there was at 2 o'clock this afternoon a power failure in the Manchester area which affected the communications centre which runs all the kind of network rail signalling in the northwest of England. Now, you would imagine there should be some kind of backup power supply, but for whatever reason that didn't kick in immediately. As a result of that, guess what? It's in charge of signalling. All the signals go red. All the trains stop and chaos ensues. And this is affecting a large area of northwest England. It's mostly concentrated in Manchester. But of course, if you're getting a train to or from Manchester, well, I've just been looking at the arrivals board at Manchester Piccadilly station. It doesn't look make for good reading. You've got trains from Liverpool, from Norwich, from London, from, of course, Manchester Airport, which is extremely inconvenient, all cancelled. In the past few minutes, the Department for Transport has told me that all the stranded trains are now on the move. The system has been rebooted, but there are still some issues resulting from that. And yeah, the view is that there will be disruption for the rest of the day. It's going to be a miserable evening rush hour for an awful lot of commuters in northwest England and wherever you're going. So, for instance, Transpennine Express, which runs between Manchester and Scotland, you're told do not try to travel for the rest of the day, and that applies also to the northern network in the northeast, in the northwest. Forgive me. Transport for Wales says we've got some rail replacement buses, but they're never a joy.
Sounds like an absolutely grim situation. I think we've got a map, have we, on there of the areas that have been affected. We can get that up, Simon. Yeah. We're going to work on that now. But, of course, now thoughts will turn to misery for commuters trying to get anywhere through that hub. Thoughts will turn now, well, so how is this caused? Yeah. We've seen power go down because of heat waves.
We've got the map now.
Huge area of Britain there.
Everything in yellow from Carlisle down to, well, basically south of Birmingham and from Merseyside across almost to the Humber. And, yes, wherever you are going, if your train started or ended in this area, there's a very significant chance it is going to be disrupted. Just wholesale cancellations. And of course, if that train, which I've just been checking out from London to Manchester, is cancelled, that also means you're going to be seeing cancellations in the opposite direction.
Simon, the big question is, the nightmare question, what caused this disaster?
Well, of course, already speculation that it was some kind of online hack. But, of course, there always are in these situations. Clearly, there's a lot of activity going on trying to get critical national infrastructure, and this is certainly a part of it. But generally, when the dust settles, most of the time you find that this is foul up rather than any kind of conspiracy or outside influence.
Incompetence, failure, not necessarily a hack by an offensive foreign state.
Something's gone wrong, and we will learn from it.
OK, Simon Calder, thank you for coming in to see us on the studio. I appreciate your time, as ever. Simon Calder, thank you. Now, my next story now. The number of people referred to the government's Prevent programme, the terrorist watchdog, of course, has reached a record high this year. More than 10,000 referrals were made in the year to September 2025, and that's up by 39% on the previous year. Now, incredibly, 11 to 15-year-olds are making up the largest group of referrals, and this comes as fresh Home Office figures show that, where ethnicity was recorded, more than two-thirds of referrals were white. But then, we're a white country. Let's now speak with a former Prevent practitioner and the counter-extremism coordinator, Dr. Charlotte Littlewood. Dr. Littlewood, it's a pleasure to have your company. A huge rise in the number of referrals. What's driving it?
Well, actually, I think a huge rise is reflective, obviously, of the extremism in the country, but also of the increased coverage of Prevent over the last couple of years, where Prevent has really gone wrong, and schools in particular have been held accountable for referrals not being handled properly, local authorities being held accountable for not processing referrals through to channel properly. And I think now it's really come under such a magnifying glass that local authorities and schools in particular are working really hard to make sure they do Prevent as properly as they can. And what you can see with these figures is that 34% of the referrals are coming from schools. And that is because schools have the best chance of noticing a change in a young person's behavior, for example, becoming more extreme, understanding that that person has maybe moved towards an extreme group or an idea. It's very hard for that to be done by any of the other organisations trained to do this, like healthcare and hospitals and police, who only see people for short periods of time. So schools, 11 to 15-year-olds, end up being the bulk of the referrals because they are the institution best prepared to refer.
Yeah. Dr. Littlewood, let me now look at the actual breakdowns, and I think there's something noteworthy here, something you and I have spoken about a lot. According to the Prevent referrals, 3 times as many are for extreme right-wing terrorists as opposed to Islamist terror, it does not reflect reality. It's completely devoid from the actual reality of the casework of counter-terrorism police officers. 80% of police work is Islamist terrorism. 10% is extreme right-wing terrorism, yet Prevent seem to think children are 3 times more likely to be right-wing. Again, Charlotte, we need to have a conversation about the facts. Is Prevent itself being captured? Or more to the point, are the teachers referring young people themselves? Do they have their own woke ideology?
I think what you've said there is really important, Martin, that actually the threat in the country can be measured best by what's going on in the policing sector, intelligence, the number of terrorist attacks. For example, 67% of terror attacks since 2018 have been Islamist in nature. And that's the data to look at if you want to see what the threat looks like in the country. Prevent is our pre-criminal space, training frontline workers who come into contact with people to refer what they are seeing. It is a rough science.
Or what they want to see.
There are lots of factors playing into that, and assuredly that is one of them. But also, I think the general public finds it far easier to identify far-right and Nazi ideology than it would Islamist and even anti-Semitism. I think many would.
But they might if they're told about it all the time by documentaries like Adolescence and constant propaganda from the mainstream media. They might think all these kids are fascists in waiting. Charlotte, I put it to you that that's not true.
I think you've got to also take into account the pressure that schools are under if they do refer for an Islamist referral. You know, there have been cases in which Islamist organisations themselves have got involved and bullied schools and created campaigns around referrals, perhaps sometimes referrals that haven't quite been accurate, but they've created a fear amongst frontline respondents to refer in that direction that it may harm and hurt someone to make that referral. There isn't the same kind of pushback when it comes to the far right. And I do not want to deny that we do have a far-right issue in the UK too, but
it's
we have a far
much smaller than the Islamist threat. Dr. Charlotte, we have to leave it there. We're running out of time. I really appreciate your time, as ever. Superb guest. Thank you very much. And well done, Doctor. Very, very good. I'll play more still to come on the show, including reforms UK's illegal migrant worker clampdown, the so-called Deliveroo law. That's going to mean involving putting CEOs in jail. That's next here on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M2 eastbound is closed between junctions 3 and 4 in Chatham. The M4 eastbound is closed between junctions 20 and 19 in Hungerford. In Scotland, the M8 westbound has 2 lanes restricted at junction 8 in Baillieston. Across Wales, the M4 eastbound from M4 J29A St Mellons to M4 J29 Castleton is closed. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services are facing major disruption in the Greater Manchester area and the northwest of England, with cross-country also reduced between Newport and Cardiff Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome to Orlisanti by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating with an incredible £60,000 to be won. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Magnificent stuff. A very good afternoon to you. It's 5 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you until 6 p.m. A cracking show awaits, a patriotic show awaits, and here's what's on today's menu. Today at GB News, we're celebrating what makes Britain great in a special day of coverage. From Aberdeen to Durham, to Leeds, Essex, Belfast and to Barry Island there in Wales, the People's Channel is putting you, the great British public, at the front and centre as we celebrate Britain.
Under a reform government, this betrayal ends. We will introduce the toughest penalties in the world for those who employ and profit from illegal migrants.
An illegal immigrant worker crackdown from Reform UK, who says it would jail company bosses who use or even employ illegal immigrant labour as they pledge to end illegal working in Britain. But do the numbers add up? And the petition calling for the early release of 2 of PC Andrew Harper's killers to be blocked has now surpassed more than 500,000 signatures. We'll have all the latest in the growing outrage and ask, should the government and the Prime Minister step in to keep those 2 scumbags inside jail? And the controversial Professor Jason Arday, dubbed the Pinocchio Professor, has stepped down from Cambridge University. Prof Arday claimed to be a record-breaking runner. He claimed he took part in a TV series that aired 21 years before he was even born. Here's the question. Is woke academia to blame for the rise of the DEI poster boy professor? And locals in Brent are furious over plans to build a 13-storey mega mosque on the site of an old Irish pub with 3 prayer levels, Muslim schools and a morgue. Locals say it will clog an already congested area. But as GB News will reveal today, there are already 39 other mosques in the area. So seriously, is this new mosque even required? And that's all coming up in your next hour. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. It's a patriotic day here today as GB News has turned 5 years old. I'll be down in Essex tonight from 9 p.m. with Patrick Christys and Michelle Dewberry, Nana Acquia, Andrew Pearce and many, many others of us mugs here from GB News will be joining in for a show. There'll be a live studio audience. It's going to be magnificent. Ahead of that, we'll have an incredible story about leaflets being handed out on beaches to illegal immigrants in in Dunkirk. Crib sheets of how illegal immigrants can game their way into Britain, about storms, about seas, about weather, about how to gain asylum when they get here. Here's the question of foreign charities aiding and abetting the illegal invasion of Britain. And should we take action? Get in touch usual ways, gbnews.com/you'll say is a way to do so, or scan the QR code on your screens now. But now it's time for your headlines, and here's Sam Francis.
Martin, thank you, and good evening to you. Just after 5 o'clock, the top story tonight, Andy Burnham has ordered an urgent review into whether grooming gang offenders could be freed early from prison under the government's release scheme. The Prime Minister has asked the Ministry of Justice to identify cases that may still qualify. It's after Kemi Badenoch warned some child sex offenders could leave jail before the end of their sentences. The concern is that older offences, including indecent assault, may not be covered by the exclusion list. Number 10, though, says Andy Burnham has personally intervened to make sure what he described as vile groomers are dealt with in a way victims deserve. And that row comes as a petition urging the Prime Minister not to release 2 of PC Andrew Harper's killers passes 500,000 signatures. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole were jailed after the officer was killed in 2019 when he was dragged behind a car during a quad bike theft. Andrew Harper's family say their release would be an utter betrayal. Passengers are being warned not to travel on parts of the rail network tonight after a power failure caused major disruption across Greater Manchester, the North West and the Midlands. The fault is at the Manchester Rail Operating Centre, with trains being cancelled, delayed or rescheduled. Several major operators are affected, and National Rail says the major disruptions expected until at least 8 o'clock tomorrow in some areas. In other news tonight, Reform UK has said that company bosses should face jail if they employ people without the right to work. The party also wants firms fined 10% of global revenues, targeting delivery and gig economy companies it claims are profiting from illegal workers. But the Health Secretary, Yvette Cooper, says the government's already launched a record crackdown.
Well, this government has done the biggest crackdown on illegal working that our country has ever seen, with a 77% increase in raids. 17,000 businesses have seen raids for illegal working, massive crackdown in terms of the courts, and also more than 50% increase in people who've been illegally working also being deported and returned as well. We take this really seriously, and that's why we've had this major crackdown that's delivering results.
Health Secretary Yvette Cooper speaking earlier. Well, 2 men have been arrested after police officers were taken to hospital during a second night of disorder in Thetford. Norfolk Police says a crowd gathered after an anti-immigration protest before officers were called to reports that people were trying to get into a home. One officer was hit with a rock, another was seriously bitten, and a third was spat at. In London, a woman has been charged after 4 men were injured in a stabbing in Covent Garden. Stella Golovena is accused of 4 counts of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm and possessing an offensive weapon in public. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has told court he was chased by a man in a balaclava near his Sandringham home. The former Duke of York says he was walking his dogs when he spotted a man he described as out of place. 39-year-old Alex Jenkinson denies using threatening, abusive or insulting behaviour and is also fighting a stalking protection order. The former Prince Andrew is due to give evidence by video link at the trial in December. A record 10,293 referrals were made to the government's anti-extremism scheme Prevent in the year to September last year. The Home Office says it is the highest number since records began and up 39% on the previous year. 11 to 15-year-olds made up the largest group of those known and recorded, and 393 referrals involved children aged 10 or under. The former TV star Stephen Bear has been jailed today for 16 months for breaching a restraining order by posting about his former partner, Georgia Harrison, online. Prosecutors say he used social media as part of a campaign of abuse after being banned from contacting or commenting about her. The order followed Bear's conviction for voyeurism and disclosing private sexual images. Cambridge University's youngest black professor has resigned after becoming the centre of a row over his academic record. Professor Jason Arde stepped down after Cambridge launched an investigation into his qualifications and honorary appointments. He's been accused of plagiarism and exaggerating parts of his career, but says he's not a liar and no longer wants to live under a constant spotlight. And in sport, Gianni Infantino has apologised now for errors over his failed plan to bring private investors into FIFA's competitions. FIFA says mistakes were made, but its board is standing behind him after crisis talks last night. But UEFA says that the changes mean nothing and is accusing FIFA of pursuing a backroom deal. Those are this evening's headlines for you. More news in half an hour. Now, though, it's back to Westminster and Martin.
Thank you very much, Sam. Now, today, Reform UK has vowed to clamp down on illegal migration workers during a press conference in the Westminster area earlier on. Now, Reform UK's Home Affairs spokesman, Zia Yusuf, he pledged to jail company bosses who use or even employ illegal migrant labour. And here he is.
We will introduce the toughest penalties in the world for those who employ and profit from illegal migrants. We'll restore order to our high streets, protect the integrity of our border and return fairness to the British economy. We will stand up for British workers.
Well, it's a promising clampdown. Here's what the Labour Party Health Secretary Yvette Cooper said about cracking down on illegal working earlier on.
Well, this government has done the biggest crackdown on illegal working that our country has ever seen, with a 77% increase in raids. 17,000 businesses have seen raids for illegal working, massive crackdown in terms of the courts, and also more than 50% increase in people who've been illegally working also being deported and returned as well. We take this really seriously, and that's why we've had this major crackdown that's delivering results.
That's Yvette Cooper there responding to Reform UK's clampdown on the so-called Deliveroo law. Well, I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by GBNews political correspondent Catherine Forster, who was there for that announcement earlier on. You know, a pattern is emerging, is it not now, Catherine, of Reform UK doing these brash, big, bold, headline-grabbing announcements, and the government's being forced to respond. They're saying, well, no, we're already doing this. We've had the biggest clampdown on illegal workers in history, and yet people see their own high streets falling apart, riddled with people on Deliveroo bikes in balaclavas. We don't know who they are. We don't know if they're legal or not. Car washers, vape shops, endless barber shops. People can see things are going wrong. This is a clampdown. Will it work?
Well, I mean, Reform have got the advantage of not being in power. So at the moment, they can say whatever they like. They can make these grand promises. If they don't form the next government, well, we'll never know. If they do form the next government, and then we'll see if they make good on them or not. But, you know, the government is saying, look, we're doing most of this already. The rest of it, they've said, is empty posturing. They're saying, look, arrests are up 83%. They're doubling the immigration enforcement budget over the next couple of years. And they've already got a hotline. Zia Yusuf talking this morning about a Turkish barber hotline, tip line for people to contact if you see a business that you think is a bit suspect, that you suspect may not be playing by the rules. The Home Office saying, we've already got that. You can do that now. But I think what it's about is making a noise, making a splash. We saw it again on Monday. We've had 2 of these big immigration announcements in a week. On Monday, we're going to send the boats back to France, and we don't care that France says no. Basically, that was raised again
That's Operation
today.
Fortress. That was Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, and it gets people talking. And today, again, they're promising, most eye-catching to me, was that they're actually saying they are going to potentially lock up the CEOs of multinational companies if they are found to have people working illegally. I struggle to see how that's going to happen, given our dismal failure to lock up people involved in the post office scandal, infected blood, the bankers' financial crisis, Grenfell, and so on and so forth. But they are talking very big. And of course, it makes headlines. There's been a bit of a lull, hasn't there, for a couple of months? I thought Reform have been pretty quiet. We used to have press conferences twice a week, it felt like. And now in the summer, Andy Burnham's on his holidays for a week or so. They see an opening, they're trying to grab the microphone, and at the moment they're grabbing the microphone pretty successfly.
Zia Yusuf was in the studio a while ago at the top of the show, and when he said that statistic about for every pub closed, seven vape shops are now opening in Britain, and there's 1 pub closing every day. That means there are 7 vape shops opening in Britain every single day. People can see this on their high streets. They can sense that their high streets are changing and it looks a bit shady. And we also learned £1 billion is laundered through these illegal businesses every single year. There is a problem. Yvette Cooper can claim it's being clamped down upon, so could the previous regime. But high streets feel like they're going downhill. When I go to Nottingham to see my dad, there's so many geezers in balaclavas on bikes, on the pavements, tearing around. It feels intimidating. It feels scary. People can see it, they can touch it, and they want it changing.
Yeah, they do. And I think it is so depressing when you go to town centres. I was in Swindon a year or so ago. I hadn't been for a long time, and I just couldn't believe the decline, all these shut shops, all these dodgy-looking shops that you're thinking, well, how are they making the money to keep going? It seems very odd. But, you know, so many of us are guilty of buying stuff online. I mean, I am very guilty of doing that. It's just so easy. Stuff gets delivered so quickly. But, you know, use it or lose it, and we'll be sorry if the high streets go.
Thank you very much, Catherine Force. Let's get to my next guest now, and that's the Labour Party activist, great friend of the show, Aisha Ali Khan. Aisha, welcome to the show. A pleasure, as always, to have your company. We can all agree we've got a problem with illegal workers. We don't know how big it is, but people can see it, they experience it. Do you welcome Reform UK's clampdown today?
I think what Reform have done, as Catherine just pointed out, they're taking advantage. It's almost like the cat is away, so the mice have come out to play. I think they're taking advantage of the fact that Andy Burnham is out of the way on his holidays, and they're just repeating a lot of what Labour Party have already implemented. I mean, right now, if you look at some of the punishments, some of the sanctions that are in place, if a company has been found to be employing illegal migrants, they're fined 45,000 for each initial migrant, and then it goes up to 60,000 for repeated offences. There's also, you know, sentence of up to 5 years. So what Zia Yusuf is trying to say is he's taking what we have already implemented and he's basically saying we're going to do it better, we're going to do it, but it makes no sense because we're already doing it. And obviously, you know, we've only been in power for 2 years. This is something that's going to take time. The Tories were in power for 14 years. And look at the shambles they left for us when we came in 2 years ago. But obviously, Martin, you know, we've spoken about this so many times. The system needs reform. It needs, it needs an overhaul. And we also need to understand... It was... What we don't need are people like Zia just mouthing off and making all these grand promises when, we're not going to see them. There will not be anywhere near power. Look at the latest polls. Nigel Farage is too busy trying to escape allegations of this £5 million donation that he was given. He still hasn't explained it. I think Reform are on the losing side.
Let's stick on this point. Let's not reform the conversation into an area you'd rather it go. On a serious point, you say that Labour is clamping down on this, and the Conservative Party before said they were clamping down on this. But as I said to Catherine, people don't believe it because they see their high street, let's be honest, going down the toilet. They see fellas on bikes tearing around in balaclavas. They see more barber shops in a town than there are heads to cut. It doesn't add up. Something is wrong, and it's happening in plain sight. And you could surely just go to a barber shop and count the people in each day and then raid it and look at its till and say, well, hang on a minute, this is laundering drug money. It's obvious. So if it's obvious and you claim it's being clamped down, why does it still feel like Britain's going to the dogs on its high streets?
So there are two separate things we're talking about right now. We're talking about the death of the high street, which has been happening in front of us. I mean, I live in a small town called Keighley, and you've mentioned barber shops and vape shops and, other shops as well. Dubious what's going on there. And of course, if there was something suspicious, the police I completely agree that the police should be investigating. They should be conducting raids. They should be asking to see the books, because obviously, how many people need haircuts. So I'm concerned about the lack of investment in shops, in the high street shops. I mean, we had a very thriving shopping centre, the Airedale Centre in Keighley, and over the years, a handful of shops are left. So many big names have moved out, and we have to go to places like Leeds or Bradford to do a decent shop. And this is something that, from a business perspective, from an economic perspective, we need to be looking at what is going on here. And obviously, in that space, you have businesses that have moved in that are quick and easy to set up and generate money, or so-called money. Again, I can't speculate because I don't know how many of these shops are a front for criminal activity, and if that is the case, I don't want to see that myself. I don't want to see criminal activity on the high street or anywhere near in front of us. So I'm totally in support of clamping down on this, but we do need to talk about migration. We do need to talk about migrants, if they're coming here, how they're getting jobs. A majority of the people that come, they're living in really horrific conditions. They get a pittance of an allowance every week, and they're just trying to survive. And I think it's wrong that Reform are still trying to demonise these people.
Aisha, it's not demonising. If you come here illegally and you're working in the black economy, I don't care if that's demonisation. We don't want these people in the country. We don't want them robbing taxpayers. We don't want them taking jobs away from British workers, especially young people. It needs to stop. But Aisha Ali Khan, thank you very much. There's definitely room for reform, I think, on this plan. Aisha, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Now, a Deliveroo spokesman has told GB News this: illegal working should absolutely be addressed, and that's why we've led the industry in cracking down on the sophisticated, organised criminals who attempt to abuse our platform. We run the rights-to-work checks on all riders, conduct multiple daily identity checks, and use cutting-edge fraud detection technology. Now, you can't have escaped this. Today, GB News has been celebrating Britain and all the areas which make it great. And we've got a magnificent finale to those celebrations today. Patrick Christie is GB News presenter down there live in Essex, a superstar on a super stage platform. Patrick.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic here, Martin. Yes, we are here to celebrate Britain and 5 years of GB News. You'll see there's the smoke machines working. We've tested the pyrotechnics. Nobody died, so we're off to an absolute flyer. This room is going to be absolutely packed to the rafters. Firstly, at 6 p.m. for Michelle Dewberry's show, but then from 9 p.m. to 11 for my show. There's a bar over there as well. We're going to be talking to people in there. We're going to be saying why we're proud of Britain, what makes Britain great, celebrating every single aspect of it all over the country, but also celebrating GB News over the last 5 years. And we've got a whole host of special guests with us, and there's one here, actually. Here he is. Look who's just wandered in. Adam Brooks is here. Hello, mate. How are you?
Welcome to Essex.
Yeah, well, yeah, Mr. Essex is actually
it's good
here.
to be here.
No, not had to travel too far, I'll take it.
No, not too far, no. And funny enough, I've boxed here when I was 20-odd.
No way.
Yeah, and I didn't do very well, so it's bringing back memories.
Oh,
you know?
well, hopefully we can create some better memories tonight. You're just going to be verbally jousting tonight with a couple of left-wingers, maybe.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see what the left-wingers have to say.
It should be good, though, because we're going to go to the audience. It's a good way of, seeing what real people out there actually think about some of the big topics of the day. We're going to talk about immigration, the economy, the latest opinion polls at a national level and all of that. So, it should be a really good event. And it's actually nice to just be positive about the country that we live in and show why we should be proud of it.
And it's good to meet the people, the viewers, that make it all possible at GB News. I get stopped a lot out there. People say, I'll watch you on GB News. So some of them people are going to be here. It's going to be good to speak to them and give something back.
Yeah, exactly. And we've been doing, cheers Adam for that. We've obviously been doing a couple of dry runs, but there's a lot that's gone into this show. There's a lot that still needs to happen. The teams are working very, very hard to make sure it's absolutely perfect. What could go wrong, Martin?
Well, what could go wrong is that I'm going to turn up later on around about 9 o'clock. I'll be with you. I'm getting the Batmobile straight away from here when I finish at 8 p.m. GB News tonight, and I'll be there with you. And I tell you what, I haven't seen so much smoke in a room there since I was in Nigel Farage's office in Brussels. Patrick Christys is going to be magnificent. I'll see you down there at 9 o'clock. Patrick Christys tonight. Beautiful stuff. Now, still to come, the controversial Professor Jason Alday, called the Pinocchio Professor. He stepped down from Cambridge University. Will be asking, is woke academia to blame for the rise of the DEI poster boy professor? That's next here on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
first of all say welcome to the UK.
Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Magnificent stuff. It's 5:26. Welcome back. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, as you know, all day today we've been celebrating Britain and all the areas which make it great. And GB News' Northern Ireland reporter Doogie Beattie joins us from Belfast for more celebrations. Doogie, so far we've had river dancers, we've had flutes, we've had music. You've been on a boat. Doogie, haven't seen you river dance yet. Is that what's coming next?
It's not the type of dance I do now, Martin, that's for sure. These feet aren't for doing that with. But I have brought you to the most famous slipway in the world. This is the slipway of the Titanic, and it reaches right the way round behind me, and the beautiful building that is behind me is the Titanic building, and each one of those peaks actually represents how high this particular ship was. Now, of course, it was only used once, and it was okay when it left here. That was up to use English that crewed it and broke it on the way across. We'll just leave that with you. But yes, tonight there is going to be an absolutely stunning display here of the bands, marching bands, drum majors, Highland dancers. That's getting underway at about 20 past 6, I think. There's about 2,000 people have booked tickets to actually see this, and joining me now is Morris. Morris, tell us exactly what is going to happen here this evening.
So what we have this evening as part of the wider FLA Coming to Belfast programme is essentially 2 hours of Northern Irish Unionist Ulster Scots culture, dance, tradition, music. So we'll have got about a cast of 200, and like you said, we're covering flute bands, traditional fife and drum with lambeg drums. We've got a piper in there as well, a couple of Highland dance groups. We've just seen one rehearse. They are absolutely fantastic, and some drum majors from County Armagh as well. So it's 2 hours to do an absolute broad brush off the entire culture, and whenever you're trying to piece a show like that together, 2 hours just isn't enough.
Of course, you yourself spent a lot of time as a drum major outside this, didn't you? I mean, you served.
Yes, I did. I spent 23 years in the household division. I originally joined the Irish Guards, transferred to the Scots Guards as the drum major there, then went as an Irishman in a Scottish uniform to be drum major Coldstream Guards of an English regiment. So yeah, no, I bounced around. This very much sits within my wheelhouse. I performed in the Edinburgh Tattoo, which is about to start its run up in Scotland. I performed in the largest tattoo in North America as well, the Virginia International Tattoo, and worked on production out there as well. So it's been great to bring that experience home, and obviously then showcase my culture, my music in my own city to a wider audience as part of the All Ireland FLA.
How important is it, music and discipline to young people?
It's a huge part of the culture, you know. We'll go right the way back. I think fife and drum can be traced back here to the early 1500s. So people would say it's not a traditional form of music. I would actually argue different. It's probably outside of the harp in the island of Ireland. You know, fife and drum would be the next most historic form of music we have here. So again, it's great. It's great to see it here. We've got a reenactment group that will essentially take King Billy back over the Boyne. That's the Sir Henry Inglesby fife and drum from Carrickfergus. They will wear that periodic costume, play some traditional tunes from, you know, so whenever you're going back and playing tunes from 1688, 1690 through the early 1700s, great.
Well, Morris, thank you very much, and best of luck tonight. There you go. British history, UK history, European history. When we talk about King William, of course, that was the first constitutional monarch. It was also the start of the Bill of Rights, and of course, that then led into what happened in the Revolution in America. It's been a great day here, Martin. I really have enjoyed showing people around Belfast, showing what we have on offer, and how the British Isles culture and really history comes together. And for me, this is 5 years of GB News. I think I am the longest serving video journalist in our crews at this moment in time, and I can tell you I have enjoyed every moment of it. The start of it was extremely hard. People refused to talk to us. Some people still do, but that's for them to find out just how good a channel we actually are.
Diggy Beattie, you've been an absolute stalwart. The work you've done with immigration, with the riots, both sides of the border has been superb. You've been an awesome reporter these past few years, and I just absolutely love Belfast. A little bit of Daubney family history in Belfast. My first son was conceived there 18 years ago. Must be something in the Guinness. Be careful, Dougie, if you have a drop of the black stuff later on. You've been a legend, Dougie Beattie. Thank you very much indeed. Always an absolute pleasure, and apologies there for the overshare. Now, a reminder, we have some very, very special shows celebrating Britain tonight. Michelle Dewberry will be live from Essex at 6 p.m, a very special edition of Jubes & Co. Goes Essex. And for a programme that promises to pay tribute to you and, of course, our viewers. And then the finale, the drum roll, the fireworks, the pyrotechnics, the dry ice for Patrick Christie's. You'll also be broadcasting live from there, and that's at 9 p.m. Be sure to tune in. I'll be down there myself. I'll be in the Batmobile after I finish GB News tonight at 8 p.m. Get stuck in. We'll see you in Essex.
All day today, we're celebrating what makes Britain great. And then tonight, we're leaving the studio behind to take GB News on the road. Join me alongside the GB News family and a very special live audience as we head to Essex for the Celebrate Britain grand finale. Don't miss this incredible night. Jubes & Co. live from 6 p.m. and Patrick Christie's tonight live from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's going to be magnificent. I'll see you there later on in Essex. Still to come, the controversial Professor Jason Arday, dubbed the Plagiarism Professor, has now stepped down from Cambridge University. We'll be asking, is woke academia to blame for the rise of the DEI poster boy professor? But for now, if you're travelling home from work, here's your traffic and your travel update. Stay safe and stick with us.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M25 anti-clockwise is affected by an obstruction after the M11 in Godstone. The A5 is closed after the A45 in Weedenbeck, and the A1 is closed between junctions 3 and 4. In Scotland, the M8 westbound is restricted at junction 3A, Starlaw interchange, due to a road traffic incident. Across Wales, the A483 southbound from Roslan or Hrugog SB on slip to Ruabon is affected by a collision. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services are facing major disruption in the Greater Manchester area and the northwest of England. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good evening, you're with GB News. The headlines tonight at 5:30. Andy Burnham has ordered an urgent review into whether grooming gang offenders could be freed early from prison under the government's release scheme. It comes after Kemi Badenoch warned some child sex offenders could leave jail before the end of their sentences. That row comes as a petition urging the Prime Minister not to release two of PC Andrew Harper's killers passes 500,000 signatures. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole were jailed after the officer was killed in 2019. Andrew Harper's family say the release would be an utter betrayal. Passengers are being urged not to travel on parts of the rail network tonight after a power failure caused major disruption. Several major operators are affected, with trains being cancelled, delayed or rescheduled. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has told a court he was chased by a man in a balaclava near his Sandringham home. 39-year-old Alex Jenkinson denies using threatening, abusive or insulting behaviour. The former Duke of York is due to give evidence by video link at the trial in December. And the Metropolitan Police Commissioner has admitted his force dropped the ball when it investigated a journalist reporting on Cambridge professor Jason Arday. Sir Mark Rowley says officers should not have warned Jack Grove to stop contacting the university professor, who has now resigned after a plagiarism row. Those are the latest headlines. Join me again for the news at 6.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Rain pushes into parts of the northwest through the rest of today. Elsewhere, though, it will remain dry, though remaining fairly cool, much cooler than it has been lately. That's thanks to a ridge of high pressure and northerly winds wrapping around this ridge, pushing in from the north and east. It does mean there has been a bit of a breeze across eastern coast. That should ease through the rest of today and overnight. And clear skies will likely develop across much of England and Wales, some eastern areas of Scotland too, as well as Northern Ireland. Further north and west, though, cloudier and wetter skies move in. The winds will increase here to near gale force as well. So under the clearer skies, temperatures will fall away rurally down into the low single figures. So it's likely to be a fairly fresh start to the day across more southern areas. But across the north, it's going to be a much wetter day. The far north and west of Scotland, the Highlands and Western Isles seeing the worst of any rain, and those strong gusty winds as well into the morning. Dry for Northern Ireland, plenty of sunshine, as well as southern Scotland and elsewhere across the UK. You'll see there's a few showers here and there, but I think most of us are going to see a dry start to the day. There'll be more in the way of sunshine to come throughout Friday, so it will feel a little bit warmer than it has done today. Still a risk of the odd shower, relatively light one across some central areas of England, some parts of Wales too, but much of the rain's going to be focused once again across the very far north of Scotland, where it will turn relatively persistent into the afternoon. So cooler here, but elsewhere a warmer day with temperatures climbing towards 25 degrees in the south and east. So quite a warm end to the week, but it is going to turn hotter as we approach the weekend. Another relatively cool evening, though, to come on Friday. So a fresher start, but temperatures will climb through Saturday across southern areas. Plenty of sunshine across the south as well, temperatures reaching 30 degrees by Sunday. Bye-bye.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back. Your time is 5:38 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, a Cambridge professor at the centre of a plagiarism row has quit after the university had launched an investigation into him. In his resignation letter, the youngest ever black professor, that's Professor Jason Arday, appointed at Cambridge University, said he no longer wished to live, quote, under a constant spotlight. Well, the university announced the inquiry following fresh developments into Professor Arday's academic qualifications and honorary appointments, and a list of, shall we say, fantastical achievements. Let's now speak with the writer and the academic, Andrew Tettenborn. Andrew, so finally Professor Arday has thrown in his lecturer's cap, and some might say perhaps it was inevitable.
I think it probably was, certainly in the last couple of days. And actually, this is by far the best news, both for him and for Cambridge. Not to put too fine a point on it, he wasn't cut out for academic life. If you have a PhD thesis, which is both badly written and apparently plagiarized, that should be a warning sign. Much more to the point, if you look at what he wrote, and I've had a look at some of it, and those who know more about social science than I do have had a look at a great deal of it, it is very largely banal, cliched. There's very little that's cutting edge about it. This person I just don't think is the right kind of person to be a top professor at Cambridge. Much more important, actually, is the effect on Cambridge, because Cambridge has some very, very awkward questions to answer. Number one, how was this person appointed, and why did nobody show what appears to be the most elementary due diligence?
Well, perhaps, Andrew, perhaps that's because they wanted it to be true. They wanted this fantastical character who emerged from nowhere, having been apparently autistic, apparently unable to speak until relatively old. They wanted this to be true. But aside from the academic embellishment, shall we say, what about the fact he appeared to have taken part in a TV series that screened 21 years before he was born? What about the fact he claimed he ran 600 miles in 10 days, a feat that would put him amongst the world's most elite endurance athletes? What about the fact he claimed to raise £5.5 million for charity and didn't?
Yeah, that should have been actually a warning sign. OK, I suppose there's no law against a Cambridge professor also doubling as Walter Mitty if he's particularly good at his subject. But it ought to have been a sign that the person's, shall we say, his contact with truth wasn't of the closest. And, you know, a lot of those figures should have leapt out at anyone. Apart from anything else, you may have your listeners may have noticed that he said he ran 600 miles from Edinburgh to London in 6 days. Well, the trouble is that Edinburgh is actually rather less than 400 miles from London anyway.
Yeah, he probably did a couple of loops around the Pennines just for good measure.
Which might, but all these stories might give you some indication that there's something very rum about this. Now, what I suspect happened, and I think what you said earlier has a grain of truth in it, the members of the board that appointed this person, which was a collection of professors from Cambridge and a number of other universities such as Newcastle and London, I think they didn't want to see anything that might get in the way of this appointment. Cambridge was certainly very excited about the idea of saying, look, we've appointed this guy who fills every who ticks every DEI box in the business, and then some. It made a marvellous story. You know, unlike the usual professorial appointment, which gives rise to about one formal notice, this one was spread through the world's press as soon as it was made.
Andrew, Andrew, may I interject and ask one final, I think a question with some brevity, and it's this: the appointments, the turning of a blind eye, the acceptance of fantastical claims, I put to you, has damaged the credibility of genuine black academics, genuine people around the world who've got there on their own merit, who deserve to be there. This guy has undermined everything.
I absolutely agree with you. The people who should be angriest, actually, with Jason Arday are honest black scholars.
Yeah. I totally agree, because, you know, if there's a feeling that this guy was given a pedestal and an elevation because of his immutable characteristics, then everybody loses in that equation. He's resigned, he's stepped away, he said he couldn't bear the pressure of public life. He previously claimed it was racist and ableist. Of course he did. But anyway, for now, Professor Jason Arday has thrown in his cap and stepped to one side. Andrew Tettenborn, thank you for helping me make sense of this nonsensical story. Pleasure. Now, GBNews has contacted Professor Jason Arday for comments, but he's previously denied allegations of plagiarism in a statement released by his friends at the Good Law Project. Professor Arday said this: "It is with profound sadness that I write to resign with immediate effect. Sadly, the years since my appointment have also been marked by an unrelenting level of public scrutiny and of personal attack. The relentless accusations, speculation and public commentary have taken a profound toll on me and on those I love." And he previously told The Times this, that he lacked adequate supervision during his PhD because of his autism and his learning disabilities, and he said he was accountable for mistakes, but what I'm not is a liar. Now, coming up next, locals in Brent are furious over plans to build a 13-storey mega mosque on the site of an Irish pub, despite there already being 39 mosques in the surrounding area. That's next, but first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, then here's the forecast for some of your top European destinations.
dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, you're heading away for the next few days. Plenty of dry and sunny weather across much of Europe. A risk of thunderstorms across some alpine regions. But for the Canary Islands, temperatures are climbing into the mid-30s. We're in the low 30s across parts of Spain. Plenty of hot sunshine, though. It's across the Alps where you can see these thunderstorms affecting parts of the Mediterranean towards Greece and Croatia as well. Here, again, temperatures in the mid-30s. Very hot indeed. And there is more of the same to come. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
4 heat waves, weeks without meaningful rain. As the UK heads towards one of its hottest summers on record, the pressure is showing here in Sussex, in the fruit growing across these fields.
Well, the impact of the heat is already visible here. This local grower says that if these extreme temperatures continue, this year's harvest may well be smaller in size.
I don't think there's been another period like this in the history. 3 years ago, we had a tremendous heat wave in the middle of harvest. We were unable to get the fruit to cool down quickly enough. The following year we had a very, very light crop, and the same again this year.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's only all-female chess team, called She Plays to Win, has been promoted to the game's top division, only to be told they must recruit a male player to compete. Now, league rules require every First Division team to include at least one male and one female player, meaning that one of the team's female players could lose her place. I'm joined in the studio by the She Plays to Win chess players, Anusha and Alicia. Great to see you both this afternoon.
Thank you.
So sorry about what's going on. You've been promoted, but you might have to lose one of your teammates. What's going on here?
So essentially, we have fallen victim to this rule that She Plays to Win, our team, has been promoted to the First Division in our league, but now must have a male player as part of the rules.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, that drought is due to long periods, record periods actually, with no rainfall and high temperatures. The areas that are affected, as you say, over half of England, half of the UK affected by that. The areas being East Anglia, Hertfordshire, the whole of London, Thames Valley, Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, Devon and Cornwall, the West Midlands and Wessex, covering Dorset, Somerset, Wiltshire and Gloucestershire. So a huge area impacted by that drought. There is also that amber heat health alert still in place here. That's in place until tomorrow. And temperatures today in the south could reach up to 35 degrees. So people here in Bognor Regis coming to the coast to cool down.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. Time is 5:49. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now then, plans for a 13-storey mega mosque in North London have sparked controversy among the local community. The proposal involves demolishing an existing 2-storey building, which is an Irish pub, and replacing it instead, as you can see on your screens, with a towering 13-storey mosque holding a communal religious space over 3 floors, a community centre, offices,
thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M23 southbound is closed between junctions 8 and 9 in Reigate. The M2 is closed between junctions 2 and 3 in Rochester. In Scotland, the M8 westbound is restricted at junction 3A, Starlaw interchange, after a collision. Across Wales, the A470 southbound from Taffs Well to Corriton interchange is congested with possible delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services are facing major disruption, with cross-country also reduced between Newport and Cardiff Central and disrupted between Tamworth and Burton-on-Trent. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Am I there? Okay, I'm assuming I'm on screen. I'm not quite sure. We've had a few technical errors there. Hello. Let there be light. We are back here at GB News. Now, apologies there for a couple of technical issues. We were about to talk about a quite incredible story about plans to build a so-called mega mosque in the Brent area of London. Now, if you know the area, and I do, I've got a motorbike workshop there where my bike is, you will know it is a very Muslim area of Britain. But feast your eyes on this on your screens now. A 13-storey plan for a so-called mega mosque to be built in the area. The UK Albanian Muslim Community and Cultural Centre on Carlton Vale there will replace the Shamrock, a former Irish pub. Now, this area used to be an Irish part of London, no longer. 13-storey mega mosque is planned there. Now, included in this will be 3 stories of prayer rooms, 3 stories. There'll be children's classrooms. There'll be Muslim scholars there teaching children about the scriptures, a ground floor cafe, a restaurant space, accommodation for charitable and cultural activities, and also a morgue. There'll be a morgue there, presumably for Muslim families to visit the deceased. Now, locals there are very, very concerned, not about the cultural issues as such, but the fact it will generate a huge amount of traffic. How on earth can a 13-storey mega mosque accommodate hundreds upon hundreds of vehicles, particularly, of course, for key prayer times on Fridays? Anybody will know that the sudden descent of traffic on these areas, on mosques, causes a bottleneck. Locals there have voiced their concerns. There have been, 238 opposition requests to this. And the locals are saying they're not being consulted. One resident who chose not to be named said it's hard to understand how there is local need for a 13-storey mega mosque in Queen's Park when there are already 15 others, they claim, in a 3-mile radius. That's not true. I've looked into it. There are actually 39 registered mosques or Islamic centres within a 3-mile radius of the proposed site. 39. Now, when you delve into the Muslim population of the area and the number of mosques, it's perfectly reasonable to assume that the area is already very, very well serviced. It's very well serviced for mosques already, so why do we need another one? Now, of course, some people say, well, it's Islamophobic. It's Islamophobic to say you don't want another mosque, but look at it on your screens there. It's an absolute Goliath of a structure. It will loom over the area, and some